Chapter 1733. The Skybreak heavenly deity smiled when he saw the strange expression on Qin Wentian's face. After seeing so many Heaven Heart mandates, did you gain any inspiration? Have you thought about what Heaven Heart mandate you want to comprehend? Let nature take its course. When the source origins are perfectly fused, a Heaven Heart mandate would naturally appear. I hope I can successfully fuse the source origins together. Qin Wentian spoke. The Skybreak heavenly deity froze when he heard Qin Wentian's words. His illusory eyes flashed with a hint of disappointment. He regarded Qin Wentian's talent very highly. However, did Qin Wentian have to be like the vast majority of people and fuse the source origins together, giving birth to a Heaven Heart mandate before forming a World Heart and stepping into the World Overlord realm? The reason why he asked this question was because he hoped that Qin Wentian would reply that he would consider it carefully and search for a World Heart energy that was most suitable for him. After forming a heart domain, he would then reverse engineer a Heaven Heart mandate. One must know that a World Overlord could only have a single World Heart. However, Heaven Heart mandates could be formed in many forms. The World Heart was the root while the Heaven Heart mandates were the branches and leaves. The Skybreak heavenly deity had high hopes for Qin Wentian. He naturally hoped that Qin Wentian would have extraordinary accomplishments, allowing him to comprehend a transcendent World Heart. Hence, after hearing Qin Wentian's words, he felt a little disappointed. Naturally, he wouldn't say anything more and wouldn't interfere with Qin Wentian's cultivation. He was only responsible for guiding Qin Wentian through the great gate of the World Overlord realm. As for how to walk down this path, Qin Wentian could only depend on himself. Only then would his comprehension be the deepest and wouldn't cause his cultivation base to be unstable. Retracting his disappointment, the Skybreak heavenly deity felt a trace of hope. Maybe, given Qin Wentian's powerful astral souls, even if he fused the source origins together, he would still be able to form an extremely powerful Heaven Heart mandate. There are still many secret realms in this world that have yet to be destroyed. I will bring you to roam around the divine depositories. The Skybreak heavenly deity spoke. After that, they left the world of 10,000 laws. Time flew by, especially when one was cultivating, one would realize that time passed very quickly. Unknowingly, several years had passed. In these few years, the cultivators that Qin Wentian brought from Qingxian had made terrifying progress. If this kind of progress was known to the outside world, it would be enough to set off a storm. For many immortal emperors, other than those with a lower cultivation base, the other immortal emperors all stepped into the Empyrean realm. For those with a lower cultivation base, they all became peak-stage immortal emperors, only a step away from the Empyrean realm. This was simply a metamorphosis. Everyone's strength had risen to a higher level. It sounded a little exaggerated. However, the person teaching them was a heavenly deity. There are countless living beings in the world. How many of them would be able to receive personal guidance from a heavenly deity? Even the people from the deity race were few and far between. How big was the deity race? They had countless people, and all the clansmen were personally nurtured by the deity race? Clearly, this was impossible. Only the most outstanding people, as well as the direct descendants of heavenly deities, would have the chance to be nurtured by the heavenly deity. The people from Qingxian received such treatment. Not only so, they even entered various secret realms that allowed them to undergo a metamorphosis. All of them experienced a complete transformation. If one wanted to talk about the person who improved the least, it was actually Qin Wentian. During these years, he entered many secret realms and divine depositories and gained a deeper understanding of the World Overlord realm. Sadly, he still had no way to enter that realm and had no way to form a Heaven Heart mandate. The reason for this was naturally very simple. When immortal emperors entered the Empyrean realm, their attribute energies would transform into source origins and they would be able to achieve this as long as their laws were at the peak. But for Empyreans to enter the World Overlord realm, they still had to undergo a metamorphosis. The difficulty was much higher. When some of the people who had reached the peak of their respective source origins also entered the world of 10,000 laws, they all sighed in admiration at how terrifying the world of 10,000 laws was. However, they were the same as Qin Wentian. The World Overlord realm was something that they could only look at but not touch. After that, Qin Wenyan entered the world of 10,000 laws a few more times. Although it was extremely painful, he didn't hesitate and had to overcome the pain. Also, for the few times he entered the world of 10,000 laws, he managed to walk even further and saw even more Heaven Heart mandates. Today, in the floating city, before the imperishable Heaven Lord's divine elephant, Qin Wenyan, Qinge, Princess Kitamura, the Southern Phoenix matriarch and many others were gathered here. Qinge, Princess Kitamura, and the Southern Phoenix matriarch have all entered the Empyrean realm. Their auras had undergone a transformation, becoming even more outstanding. They who were originally already extremely beautiful now stood together, causing the entire world to lose its color. Seeing how you guys entered the Empyrean realm so quickly, even I feel a little jealous. Qin Wenyan laughed. Right now, I'm probably the only one who is still cultivating at the same level. Right now, you are pursuing the World Overlord realm. It's naturally difficult. Right now, I'm also trying to comprehend the power of the World Overlord realm, but I still haven't succeeded. Even with the guidance of senior heavenly deities, I still feel that it's hard to comprehend. Nanfeng Yaoyue shook her head lightly. Right now, in front of Qin Wenyan, she naturally wouldn't reveal the imposing aura she had when she was the Southern Phoenix matriarch back then. She only exuded a dignified and noble aura that was carved deep into her bones. During these years, she gradually got used to it and completely treated Qin Wenyan as a friend. Naturally, towards this young man with supreme talent who had brought her to where she was today, other than friendship, she also felt gratitude. Who would have thought that the friendship between the Namhuang clan and him back then would lead to today? She had already entered the legendary realm that she had always dreamed of. If this was placed in the Azure Mystic of the past, she would already be at the level of an ancient emperor. The World Overlord realm is truly not so easy to enter. Princess Kitamura also spoke in a light voice. Let nature take its course. When it comes to cultivation, it's useless even if you are anxious. You might even lose your composure. Qin Wenyan casually smiled. He could feel that he was improving every day. The World Overlord realm would be completed sooner or later. There was no need to be anxious. Where are they now? Qin Wenyan asked Princess Kitamura. As to why they gathered here, it was because Princess Kitamura sent a message to Qin Wenyan, telling him that the experts of the heavenly deity race were already not far away from the floating city and would soon find this floating city. Also, their target was very clear. They were rushing here. Clearly, there was someone guiding them. Qin Wenyan guessed that they might have found the remnant wills of heavenly deities from the supreme ancient immortal realms. Since ancient Azure Mystic could preserve the wills of so many heavenly deities, it was the same for those heavenly deities who conquered the lower realms back then. There must be some wills of heavenly deities waiting here. Before they arrived, Princess Kitamura already knew about it. Because, right now, Princess Kitamura already controlled many zombies. These zombies were all her eyes. They have already entered the floating city. Princess Kitamura spoke. Looks like it won't be long before we reach this place. Qin Wenyan spoke in a low voice. Yu Huang, control them in the dark and don't come out. If there's any news, directly communicate via voice transmission. Hey, Yao Yu, the two of you continue to hide yourselves and do your own things. Cultivate well. I will blend into the crowd and temporarily handle the matters here. If I can't handle it, I will look for you guys. Be more careful. Qing spoke with some worry. After all, the people who were about to arrive were a large group of experts. Also, the people in the lead were all from the heavenly deity race of the supreme ancient immortal realms. She couldn't help but feel worried. Don't worry. Although I haven't broken through during these years, my improvement isn't small. Also, don't forget that there's still the will of senior Skybreak heavenly deity. Qin Wenyan smiled at Qing. After that, he turned to Baiming Yu Huang. Baiming Yu Huang will also be watching from the shadows. If I really encounter danger, Baiming Yu Huang will naturally help me out. Qing nodded lightly. After that, she left this place. The matter of them obtaining the inheritance of a heavenly deity must definitely not be leaked out. If not, the Azure Mystic Immortal realms outside would surely welcome a doomsday. This was too serious, even more serious compared to them killing all the experts from the heavenly deity race. How vast was the heavenly deity race? There were countless people in the heavenly deity race. Even if a few of them died, as long as they weren't core characters, they would at most attract the attention of some world overlords of the heavenly deity race. But if the people from Azure Mystic obtained the inheritance of ancient Azure Mystic, they would definitely attract the attention of the upper echelons of the heavenly deity race. At this moment, in the floating city, a group of experts entered. They were divided into many different camps, and there were also people who came purely because they wanted to. When they saw this majestic ancient city that wasn't destroyed, all of them felt intense anticipation in their hearts. They heard from the people from the heavenly deity race that this city was the center of ancient Azure Mystic. It was the place where the imperishable Heaven Lord grew up. Once, there were some heavenly deities who resided in this city. From this, one could very well imagine how terrifying it would be if the divine depositories in this city were to be excavated. Wang Yufifan has already obtained the will of a heavenly deity. Could it be that he is already here? Someone turned his gaze to Wang Yi as he asked. I have no idea. Back then, the heavenly deity of the winged god race borrowed Yufifan's body to fight against someone from Azure Mystic. After that, he vanished and no one knows where he went. Even if he is here, what can he do? How can the divine depositories of a secret realm be occupied by a single person? Wang Yi calmly spoke. You guys actually didn't kill a person from Azure Mystic directly? Someone coldly spoke. Wang Yi's eyes flashed. Back then, they should have directly killed Qin Wenyin. Who would have thought that that ant obtained good fortune and even dared to proclaim himself as the Heaven Empyrean of Azure Mystic? It was unknown if he was killed by Yufifan or not. They continued on their way, heading towards the center of the floating city. On the way there, they discovered that everywhere they passed, there were actually no zombies coming to disturb them. This seemed a little strange. Did you guys notice that the undead aren't on our way? Someone raised a question. Could it be because this city was a holy city back then and all the zombies here know reverence? Someone had a strange expression on his face. Let's not care so much. There's definitely a will of a heavenly deity in this city. At this moment, an expert from the heavenly deity race spoke. His tone was filled with certainty. The expressions of everyone turned solemn as their expressions turned solemn. This was the central city of ancient Azure Mystic. The remnant wills of those heavenly deities should be reluctant to leave this place, right? Chapter 1734. There were many experts around Wang Yi. In fact, he was no longer the leader. He transmitted the news of the winged heavenly deities will back to the supreme ancient immortal realms, and the clan instantly sent more experts over. Among them, there were experts with higher statuses than him. Wang Qi was one of the core disciples of the clan, a direct descendant of a heavenly deity. Right now, Wang Qi had the highest authority. However, Wang Yi didn't feel that there was anything wrong with this. This was something that should be done. In the heavenly deity race, the hierarchy was extremely strict. If he wanted to obtain a higher status, he had to grow stronger. But before he grew stronger, he could only suppress his thoughts in his heart. There seems to be someone here. At this moment, Wang Qi halted his steps. His immortal sense rapidly extended outwards, enveloping this vast region. After that, his speed soared as he sped towards a certain direction. The other experts also extended their immortal senses. After that, they seemed to have sensed something and their silhouettes flashed as they sped towards a certain direction. They came to a dilapidated palace that was now in ruins. A figure walked out from within, and when Wang Yi and the others saw this figure, many started. It was actually him. This person actually didn't die? You are still alive? Wang Yi stared at Qin Wenyin. He didn't expect that the person he met here would actually be the Heaven Empyrean who was known as the Overlord of Azure Mystic. Back then, when the aftershocks of the battle ended, many people thought that he was killed by the winged heavenly deity, Yufifan. Qin Wenyin frowned. He glanced at Wang Yi and counter-asked, You are still alive? Wang Yi's golden eyes gleamed with coldness. Was it the heavenly deity in your body who guided you here? There's a heavenly deity's will in his body? The eyes of everyone flashed. In an instant, countless pairs of eyes stared at Qin Wenyin. Do you think a heavenly deity would stay in my body forever? Qin Wenyin laughed uproariously. After that battle, my body isn't compatible with that heavenly deity. Hence he left my body. That companion of yours naturally chased after him. But is he not here? As he spoke, his gaze swept across the surrounding people, as if he was intentionally looking for Yu Fifan. It wasn't a good thing for others to remember that there was a heavenly deity in his body. In the future, he would definitely appear in the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was better for him to disguise himself and pretend that the heavenly deities will no longer had any connection with him. Wang Yi and the others believed in Qin Wentian's words. That heavenly deity of the winged god race, and Yu Fifan just so happened to be a descendant of the winged god race. Naturally, it was more suitable for the heavenly deity to be defeated. Hence, it was only natural for him to give up on Qin Wentian's body. Then why did you come here? Wang asked. Qin Wenyin glanced at him impatiently and said in a cold tone, "You're such a busybody. Aren't you here as well? Answer me." Wang Yi took a step forward, his voice incomparably domineering. "If you dare utter another word of nonsense, I'll kill you directly." Wang Qi, who was beside him, glanced at Wang. He already knew who Qin Wenyin was. He should be the Heaven Empyrean who claimed to be the overlord of Azure Mystic. What audacious words! Qin Wenyin stared at Wang Yi as he coldly spoke. "I truly want to see how you are going to kill me. You don't know the immensity of death." Wang Yi stepped out. An ant-like character from Azure Mystic actually dared to speak to him in such a manner? This was simply courting death. What sort of existence was he? He was a disciple of the heavenly deity race and had the bloodline of a heavenly deity. Although it was only a branch bloodline, it was still incomparably powerful. How could an ant-like character from Azure Mystic be compared to him? The heavenly deity race was an existence that stood at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms. Boom! The sound of a bell rang out. An incomparably resplendent little bell instantly enlarged, turning into a gigantic ancient bell. This was none other than that super-powerful treasure. He slapped his palm forward, and instantly, the ancient bell turned into a gigantic yellow bell. In an instant, an extremely powerful force enveloped the vast area, enveloping the space where Qin Wenyin was at. Rays of terrifying light accompanied the sound of the bell as it descended, wanting to kill Qin Wenyin on the spot. Qin Wenyin did not dodge. He waved his palm, and in an instant, a treasure ring appeared. This treasure ring instantly enlarged, releasing an incomparably resplendent might. The center of the treasure ring was originally empty, but at this moment, boundless runic light was produced, transforming into a light screen of the great Tao. The power from the ancient bell was all trapped within, unable to hurt Qin Wenyin at all. Qin Wenyin waved his palm, and in an instant, the treasure ring flew out like a bolt of lightning, directly flying towards the gigantic ancient bell. "Careful, retract the bell," Wang Qi said. Wang Qi spoke, causing Wang Yi's countenance to sink. Although he didn't want to do so, he still controlled the ancient bell to fly out. But at this moment, boundless rays of light shot out from the treasured hoop, enveloping the ancient bell within. After which, a powerful beam of light shot out and the ancient bell disappeared, actually being swallowed by the treasured hoop. "Die!" Qin Wenyin roared. A terrifying killing force of the great Tao shot out from the treasure ring, directly towards Wang, whose expression changed drastically. Wang Yi's eyes shot out golden light, akin to millions of golden sword chi piercing through everything. However, the light from the treasure ring still managed to pierce through them. With a piercing sound, Wang Yi's body was pierced through, as many bloody holes appeared on his body. Fresh blood flowed out unceasingly. The treasure ring rang out, and the light it emitted was resplendent. Qin Wentian's body floated in the air, arriving in front of the treasure ring. He stretched out his hand, and the light of the great Tao instantly disappeared. "If I want to kill you, it would be as easy as flipping my hand." For someone like you who only relies on a divine weapon to show off, what qualifications do you have to be so arrogant in front of me? Qin Wenin emotionlessly spoke, returning the method Wang Yi used to deal with him back when they first entered the Forbidden Ground. Comparing divine weapons? Would he care now? In fact, he even directly took away Wang Yi's divine weapon, treating it as interest. Put away your divine weapon, let's fight. Wang Yi's eyes turned even more terrifying, as though they had completely turned golden. Are you even worthy? Qin Wentian mocked. He didn't have the leisure to accompany Wang Yi to put away his divine weapon and fight. Back then, when Wang Yi looked down on everything and used the power of his divine weapon to directly suppress him, Qin Wentian wouldn't even think of putting away his divine weapon to fight. At that time, in Wang Yi's eyes, he was a lofty existence. Killing Qin Wentian was just a matter of a single thought. Why would he waste his time? But now, although Qin Wentian couldn't kill him, he wanted to let him have a good taste of this. Hand over the divine weapon of my clan. Wang Qi coldly spoke. Although it was just a divine weapon and couldn't be considered much in his clan, it wasn't up to others to take it away. In addition, he knew that there was an elder of Wang Yi's immortal sense hidden within the divine weapon, allowing him to control it. What a joke! Do you think this is possible? Qin Wentian glanced at Wang Qi. He could sense that the status of this person before him was even higher than Wang Yi. Seems like the supreme ancient heavenly deity race sent even more experts to ancient Azure Mystic. They had to chase them back or Azure Mystic would never be peaceful again. Where did the divine weapon in your hand come from? The other experts from the heavenly deity race were more concerned about the treasured ring in Qin Wentian's hand. The sealed ancient Azure Mystic would definitely not have such a divine weapon. There was only one possibility. Only the divine depositories in this ancient battlefield would have such treasures. No matter what, you entered the ancient battlefield together with this ant. Is it very strange for you to obtain a divine weapon? Qin Wentian calmly spoke. The ant in his words was naturally referring to Wang Yi, causing Wang Yi's expression to contort. He wanted nothing more than to fight a great battle against Qin Wentian, forcefully killing him. How dare he be so impudent? But when he saw the treasured ring in Qin Wentian's hand, he didn't dare to act recklessly. This divine weapon was extremely powerful and should be a high-grade world divine weapon. I'm asking, where did you obtain it? That person spoke again. Qin Wentian stared at this expert from the heavenly deity race. As expected of someone from the lofty heavenly deity race from the supreme ancient immortal realms. All of them were extremely arrogant. Idiots. Qin Wentian directly spat out 2 words. Since this person wanted to act so arrogant in front of him, he would use an even loftier attitude to face them. He truly wanted to see what these heavenly deities from the supreme ancient immortal realms could do to him. Right now in this ancient battlefield, Qin Wentian had the confidence to do so. This place wasn't the home ground of the heavenly deity race. This place was ancient Azure Mystic, his home ground. That expert from the heavenly deity race instantly erupted forth with a terrifying aura when he heard Qin Wentian's words. His source energy instantly revolved around the space where Qin Wentian stood, as though he wanted to act against Qin Wentian. But at this moment, Qin Wentian waved his hand as the treasured ring directly flew out. A resplendent light radiated from it, instantly enveloping that expert from the heavenly deity race. What do you want? Qin Wentian stared at that expert from the heavenly deity race as he asked. Upon sensing the might of the treasured ring, that expert from the heavenly deity race turned ashen as he stared fixedly at Qin Wentian. Do you know what you are doing? That expert from the heavenly deity race coldly spoke. I'm asking you a question. What do you want? Qin Wentian's voice was tyrannical. The light from the treasured ring shot out, capable of penetrating through everything. With a piercing sound, a bloody hole appeared on his opponent's body. That expert from the heavenly deity race lowered his head and stared at his chest as his expression contorted. Impudent. He took out a divine weapon. Chi. Numerous lines of blood appeared on his opponent's body as wounds appeared on his face. The power of the treasured ring grew even stronger as the light from it grew even more resplendent. It felt like as long as Qin Wendian willed it, he would be able to kill him. My patience is limited. I'll ask you one last time, what do you want? Qin Wendian spoke for the third time. Boundless light shot out from the treasured ring as killing intent gushed forth from Qin Wendian. The experts from the various powers all felt their hearts trembling when they saw this scene. Wasn't this fellow a little too crazy? He was actually so audacious, not having the heavenly deity race in his eyes at all. Could it be that he didn't understand the consequences of his actions? But no matter what the consequences were, the problem now was whether or not that expert from the heavenly deity race would compromise under Qin Wentian's domineering attitude. If he didn't, would this arrogant madman before him directly kill him on the spot? If he, an existence from the heavenly deity race, was killed here by someone from the lower realms, that would be too unjust. Why don't we work together to search for the divine depositories? Said an expert. His tone was very gentle, and it was easy for others to have a good impression of him. However, Qin Wendian wouldn't believe his words so easily. In addition, they came here for the divine depositories, but Qin Wendian was different. The divine depositories in this floating city were all under the control of the wills of the various heavenly deities. As long as the conditions were right, he would be able to use them. For example, the world of 10,000 laws, or the treasured ring in his hand. Join forces? What he wanted was for these people from the heavenly deity race to scram back to the supreme ancient immortal realms. In that case, all the divine depositories in the floating city would belong to him and his friends. Naturally, it was impossible for Qin Wendian to reveal such a heaven-shaking secret. He stared at the other party and smiled. Sir's words are logical. However, I advise everyone not to proceed any further. It isn't so easy to obtain the divine depositories. That expert laughed. What do you mean? Didn't you discover that there's something strange about this floating city? For example, those zombies. Qin Wendian laughed. Now that you mentioned it, I suddenly thought of something. Could it be that there's something we don't know about? An expert from the heavenly deity race asked. Truth be told, even though I managed to obtain the good fortune, I only dared to be active in the outer regions. If I dared to get close to the central regions. Qin Wendian smiled and shook his head. After experiencing it once, I don't dare to go there again. If everyone believes me, please listen to my advice. Don't go there. If not, I'm afraid there wouldn't be many among you who would be able to return alive. There are so many of us here, how can there be a 90% chance of death? Sir, aren't your words a little too exaggerated? An expert from the heavenly deity race coldly snorted. How would the prideful then believe Qin Wentian's words so easily? Could it be that the divine depositories have been discovered? Thinking of this, they glanced at the treasured ring in Qin Wentian's hand. Their gazes were filled with a burning desire. If there really was a divine depositories, if they were in Qin Wentian's position, they would also want to monopolize it. Even if they couldn't monopolize it, they would guard it and not share it with others. This was because Qin Wendian definitely knew that if the divine depositories were discovered by them, no matter how strong Qin Wendian was, he wouldn't be able to get a share. That's all I have to say. Since you guys don't believe me, you can continue searching for the divine depositories. However, if you encounter any dangers, don't blame me for not warning you. I only managed to escape with my life thanks to the treasured ring I obtained. Back then, I barely made it out alive. Everyone, please think carefully. I'd better stay far away and not be implicated. Qin Wendian said as he prepared to leave. Sir, please wait a moment. The person who spoke with a gentle tone earlier shouted. Qin Wendian stopped. I've already said what I need to say. Is there anything else? What exactly is the danger? Sir, please enlighten us. That expert from the heavenly deity race only half believed Qin Wentian's words. He couldn't completely believe it, but he couldn't completely disbelieve it either. My words are already very clear. Everyone, if you guys still insist, why is there a need to ask so many questions? People of different daos can't make plans together. After speaking, Qin Wendian directly departed. Many people stared at his back as their expressions flickered, as though they were contemplating. "Everyone, what do you guys think?" Wang Qi asked the crowd. "We naturally have to continue moving forward. Even if there's danger, we can join forces. How can we not be able to deal with it?" Someone confidently spoke. Among them, there were also some experts who obtained the wills of heavenly deities. In addition to the treasures in their hands, even if the zombies were truly strange, there was no need to fear them. "Everyone, let's go together." All of them came from the upper world and were existences from the heavenly deity race. They had participated in many dangerous tempering exercises before. This time, they came to the ancient battlefield and they were about to reach the central region of ancient Azure Mystic. How could they retreat just because of a few words of threat from Qin Wendian? However, there was still some wariness in their hearts. They just had to be careful. They didn't know that after Qin Wendian left, he took out his messaging crystal and transmitted a message to Princess Kitamura. "Yu Huang, you can prepare to act now." Before this, when Princess Kitamura summoned him, the two of them had already discussed. One in the light, the other in the dark. The matters here would be handled by him and Princess Kitamura. The experts from the various heavenly deities led the experts and continued forward. As they advanced, the countless zombies in the floating city started to gather towards the central region. Not only so, the zombies in the central region also started to move. They were like the tides, moving towards a certain direction. As the experts from the various heavenly deities moved towards the central region, there were finally people who felt that something was wrong. They halted their steps. "What a heavy death chi. Can you guys feel it? It's getting stronger and stronger. There's death chi moving towards us and it's extremely vast." Someone nodded. Their immortal sense frenziedly spread out, enveloping this vast region. Not long after, they finally discovered the source of the death chi. Their expressions all changed. "What's going on?" The expressions of someone stiffened. That person's words were actually true. The zombies in this floating city are truly strange. They actually surrounded us. Could it be that someone knows of our movements? There are still survivors of ancient Azure Mystic in this floating city? Could it be that there's really someone controlling these zombies? A sense of unease appeared in their hearts. They could sense that the number of zombies gathering here was definitely a terrifying number. Although they also had many experts, it was hard to say what would happen to them when facing against these zombies who didn't fear death. "What should we do now?" Someone asked. "What else can we do?" "Let's prepare for battle." An expert from the heavenly deity race spoke. A terrifying aura gushed forth from him as a divine weapon appeared in his hands. Since they were already here, they had no other choice. Since there are zombies here, they might as well kill them all. The experts from the heavenly deity race stood in formation, exuding an imposing aura. They were inconceivably powerful. Many of the experts who came here with the heavenly deity race were filled with unease. The experts from the heavenly deity race had extremely high combat prowess and could deal with the zombies, but it was extremely difficult for them to do so. When they saw the army of zombies arriving, blotting out the sky and covering the earth, the countenances of the experts from the heavenly deity race grew increasingly unsightly. In addition, there were even more zombies rushing over. The eyes of these zombies gleamed with a demonic light, looking extremely terrifying. It was like they still had remnant wills, giving off an extremely bizarre feeling. In an instant, the sounds of killing shook the sky. Countless zombies blotted out the sky as they rushed towards the crowd. Many of the zombies had terrifying speed. The experts from the heavenly deity race didn't hide at the back. They took the lead and stepped out. Some of the experts from the heavenly deity race were truly like heavenly gods. Wang Qi's golden eyes enveloped the sky, tearing the void apart. He held an ancient cauldron in his hand and took it out. The ancient cauldron revolved in the air as it grew larger and larger. The body of the cauldron was incomparably deep, radiating boundless destructive light as many zombies were instantly torn apart. Another expert from the heavenly deity race seemed to have a divinity appearing behind him. Everywhere the light passed by, everything was annihilated. All of them had unique bloodlines and were extremely powerful. At this moment, they erupted forth with power at the same time, creating an incomparably resplendent scene. It was as though they were the masters of this world. However, the number of zombies was simply too great. There were still more zombies rushing into the crowd and starting a massacre. Ordinary Empyreans basically had no way to block such a fearless slaughter, let alone the fact that there were many immortal emperors among them. They were purely cannon fodder. The sounds of killing shook the sky as screams of misery rang out. The situation instantly became extremely chaotic as the casualties were extremely high. Many people instantly felt a sense of cowardice. When they saw the corpses around them being torn apart, no matter how strong their wills were, they would still waver. Let alone the fact that the people they were killing were already dead. There was no meaning to it at all. From the very start, they were already destined to lose. Everything they did seemed to be benefiting the heavenly deity race. Chapter 1736. The cruel battle continued. Very swiftly, countless experts died here. For those who were still alive, they couldn't help but to think, was it worth it to come here? They came here for good fortune, but up until now, they couldn't even find the exit. They could only brace themselves and continue forward, searching for the so-called divine depositories. Some experts from the heavenly deity race already obtained good fortune and found the ancient heavenly deity's will. But the vast majority of them gained nothing. In the air, the experts from the heavenly deity race continued their slaughter. Zombies were still zombies after all. Even if they didn't fear death, they were still dead. How could they block the slaughter of the descendants of heavenly deities? Boom! At this moment, the earth suddenly trembled, causing the hearts of everyone to pound. Boom, boom, boom. The terrifying rhythm continued, causing the hearts of everyone to pound wildly. In addition, the tremors grew increasingly intense and very swiftly, the countenances of many people changed. In their immortal senses, they saw a terrifying scene. The experts from the heavenly deity race all turned their gazes in a certain direction only to see an incomparably gigantic body walking over. This body had no head, but it was extremely imposing, like a god of war. This was none other than the body of the Futian battle god, but in truth, it was already destroyed. His head was chopped off and everything within his body was destroyed. Only an empty shell was left. But even so, the body of a heavenly deity still possessed an extremely powerful deterrent force. In addition, on the shoulder of the headless body, there was another figure that resembled a devil god. He was clad in black armor and had a terrifying gaze in his eyes. In his hands, there was a fearsome divine weapon. That weapon was a bow that resembled a bow used by a devil god. It was incomparably black and exuded a towering devil might, as though it could break the heavens with a single arrow. There's actually a living person in the ancient battlefield of ancient Azure Mystic? Or could it be that this person is the same as them, someone who came from the outside world? Someone stared at the devil-like figure. They didn't know that not long ago, they had already met this person. In truth, this person was none other than Qin Wenyan. He first appeared with his original body, intentionally informing the other party of the danger here. After that, he used the transmogrification technique bestowed upon him by his astral soul to transform into another person, appearing here with another supreme divine weapon in his hand. Who are you? An expert from the heavenly god race walked over and stared at Qin Wenyan as he asked. At this moment, their hearts were filled with shock. If he was really an outsider, could it be that he had obtained the divine treasury? In the past, your primordial race destroyed Azure Mystic. Now that you dare to come here again, I shall borrow this body to return. In the future, I will definitely slaughter the primordial race and repay this debt of blood with blood. A cold and solemn voice rang out from Qin Wenyan's mouth, causing the countenances of the experts here to change. This was an ancient expert, an expert from the supreme ancient immortal realms. It was possible that he hadn't died completely and was borrowing the body of an outsider to revive, appearing before them. They didn't doubt Qin Wenyan's words. This was completely logical, and their earlier conjectures weren't realistic. All of them from the heavenly deity race have yet to obtain the divine depositories. How could it be possible for others to obtain it before them? As for the people from ancient Azure Mystic, were they only at this cultivation realm? Obviously, that was even more impossible. There was only one explanation. Just as the other party had said, this was an ancient person who had borrowed a body to return. This is the body of the Futian battle god. Are you the Futian battle god? Someone stared at the body of the Futian battle god as he spoke. That expert from the heavenly deity race had sensed the will of a heavenly deity in his body and told him this. Because he knew of the Futian battle god, he thought that Qin Wenin was the Futian battle god who had returned. Seems like there's still a remnant will in your body. Qin Wenin glanced at his opponent. His body that resembled that of a devil god picked up the devil god bow and pulled the bowstring. In an instant, the heavens and earth howled in rage as a raging wind gusted by, manifesting a fearsome devilish tempest. An illusory arrow materialized on the bow, directly locking onto the body of that descendant from the heavenly deity race. That person's countenance drastically changed. He took out a round disc that shone with resplendent light, radiating boundless divine light that transformed into a supremely powerful barrier before him. Boom! Boundless devil might erupted forth in an instant. The light from the round disc directly exploded as that descendant was forced back explosively. His divine weapon blocked the attack for him and he wasn't killed. However, at the next instant he only saw 3 arrows shooting out. Devil might churned wildly in the air as sonic booms rang out. That person screamed in agony as his body directly exploded. Although he had the will of a heavenly deity in his body, allowing him to evade with extreme speed, he still failed to evade the arrows. These arrows had the ability to lock onto his target. At this moment, the other experts from the heavenly deity race also acted. They wouldn't sit still and wait for death. For some experts who possessed the will of heavenly deities, they unleashed strength comparable to world overlords, using their heaven heart mandates to attack Qin Wenin. However, Qin Wenin directly flashed, entering the body of the Futian battle god through his neck. Incomparably violent attacks slammed into the body of the Futian battle god, yet they weren't able to shake the body of this heavenly deity. The body of a heavenly deity was something that even the world-ending battle back then wasn't able to destroy. This was the true body of the Futian battle god. Even if he couldn't unleash the strength he had back then, just this body alone was impossible to shake the attacks of these people. Because the Futian battle god was once a heavenly deity, his fleshly body was even tougher than world divine weapons. But right now, a hole actually opened up in the chest of such a tough body. The arrow from the devil god bow appeared there, shooting out explosively. A terrifying expert from the heavenly deity race who was rushing over had his head penetrated by the arrow, directly exploding apart. After that, the illusory will of the heavenly deity race manifested, but it was destroyed by the next arrow. The neck of the Futian battle god was directly blocked by a gigantic palm, causing no one to be able to attack Qin Wenin who was inside the body. Boom! The Futian battle god stepped out, rushing into the crowd. The devil god bow unceasingly shot out terrifying arrows, no one could block them. A single arrow pierced through space, causing countless bodies to explode, transforming into nothingness. There were even some who were directly trampled to death by the gigantic body of the Futian battle god. At this moment, immortal emperors were like ants. The experts from the heavenly deity race all hurriedly retreated, flying high up in the air. The Futian battle god's gigantic body halted. He stomped on the ground as thunderous rumbling sounds rang out. Resplendent runic light flashed on the ground, transforming into a grand formation. Very swiftly, a perfect formation was formed, connecting with the dark constellations in the sky. This seat can't be bothered to kill ants like you. This is the exit formation. In the Azure Mystic Immortal realms, all of you can forget about obtaining anything. Scram immediately and tell those who killed their way into Azure Mystic, wait for me. I will slaughter my way into the supreme ancient immortal realms. A tyrannical voice rang out from the stomach of the Futian battle god. He retreated and spoke, "Enter the formation and scram." As he spoke, he actually turned and departed. In this vast space, there were still many zombies. Naturally, there were also many people from the supreme ancient immortal realms. When they saw the blood on the ground and the corpses, some people felt their hearts turning cold. The hot-bloodedness they felt when they came here was completely extinguished. They hesitated for a moment before some of them stepped into the formation. After that, more and more figures stepped into the formation. Under the pressure of the general situation, more and more people entered. The expressions of some experts from the heavenly deity race grew unsightly. Were they going to leave just like that? They were filled with reluctance. "Let's go." An expert from the heavenly deity race turned and left. Even if he couldn't obtain anything in this floating city, he wouldn't leave just like that. This place was the ancient battlefield of ancient Azure Mystic. There were divine depositories hidden here. As for the exit, he would find it himself. Next, more and more experts from the heavenly deity race chose to leave. Their wills were even firmer than before. When facing danger, their ability to protect themselves also grew stronger. The gigantic body of the Futian battle god didn't obstruct them from leaving. Qin Wenyin appeared from the body of the Futian battle god. His expression was cold. This ancient battlefield was simply too vast. If there were people who didn't wish to leave, there was nothing he could do about it. It was impossible for him to travel to every corner of the ancient battlefield to deal with the people from the supreme ancient immortal realms. But most probably, the battle today was sufficient to intimidate many people. At the very least, this floating city wasn't a place where people from the supreme ancient immortal realms were allowed to enter. Not long after, the vast majority of people chose to leave through the teleportation array. A minority turned and left, heading to other places to search for good fortune. Qin Wenyin understood that these descendants of the heavenly deity race were all extremely powerful. It was very difficult to kill them, and they should be able to obtain some good fortune. After everyone left, the countless zombies started to move again, heading in different directions. This vast floating city would be guarded by the zombies. Qin Wenyin changed back to his original appearance. His gaze turned to the horizons, and after some time, a beautiful figure appeared beside him. It was none other than Princess Kitamura. "How do you feel?" Qin Wenyin asked Princess Kitamura. "A little tired." Princess Kitamura spoke in a light voice. "There are some powerful zombies, but I still have no way to control them freely. If you can truly control the zombies in this battlefield, the entire ancient Azure Mystic would become your territory. How would these people from the supreme ancient immortal realms be able to survive?" Qin Wenyin laughed. "Seems like the death scripture was also an extremely powerful technique. It could use one's soul to kill people and could also control the dead. It's just that we have wronged Senior Futian battle god. His body was actually used by us to trample on." Princess Kitamura glanced at the gigantic body of the Futian battle god. Earlier, in truth, she was the one controlling the body of the Futian battle god. If Senior cares about this, why would he take the initiative to do so? Qin Wenyin spoke in a light voice. The heavenly deities of ancient Azure Mystic truly had nothing to say to them. Qin Wenyin felt that the responsibility on his shoulders was extremely heavy. "Let's go and continue our cultivation. In the future, if there are people who come here, we can just sweep them all away. We have the guidance of the various heavenly deities, and the strongest divine depositories in this battlefield are all in our hands. Those people from the supreme ancient immortal realms wouldn't be able to obtain too much." Qin Wenyin and Princess Kitamura turned and left. The body of the Futian battle god also followed after them. As the sounds of explosions rang out, very swiftly, the entire battlefield was in a complete state of chaos. In addition, in the following years, more and more people came here. But the vast majority of people couldn't pass the trial of the zombies and were expelled. The popularity of the ancient battlefield in the supreme ancient immortal realms finally started to wane. At this moment, more exits were found. Hence, as more and more people came, more and more people died. However, all of this seemed to have nothing to do with Qin Wenyin and the others who were silently cultivating. They were completely immersed in their own world of cultivation. Chapter 1737. As time flowed, the situation in the supreme ancient immortal realms changed. However, those ancient heavenly deity races still stood at the peak of the supreme ancient immortal realms. In the ancient battlefield, many from the heavenly deity race had some harvests, but there were also some who gained nothing. Even the heavenly deity race was like this, let alone some world overlord powers. After they learned of the situation in the lower world, many world overlord powers also gave up. During these years, there were some powers from the supreme ancient immortal realms who acted against Heaven Empyrean City. This was because of those Empyreans killed by Qin Wenyan back then. However, Di Tian had always been guarding Heaven Empyrean City, protecting everything. His heart and mind were connected. Everything Qin Wenyan experienced was also his experience. Hence, even if Qin Wenyan wasn't an ancient azure mystic, his comprehension was the same. Hence, after a few invasions, they were all suppressed by Di Tian's formations, killing the Empyreans who invaded, shocking everyone. Many experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms gradually left azure mystic. These supreme powers from the supreme ancient immortal realms didn't have much interest in the outer azure mystic. Even if some of them showed a trace of interest, they would only casually walk around. In the blink of an eye, tens of years have passed since Qin Wenyan entered the ancient battlefield. During this period of time, he researched some ancient records in the divine depositories and learned how to inscribe spatial formations. He went out for a trip and brought Qingqing over. After that, when he came back, he directly set up a teleportation formation at the entrance of the ancient battlefield and directly teleported back to the floating city. After that, he destroyed the teleportation formation here. This way, it would be impossible for others to use the teleportation formation he created to come here. Although Qingqing's cultivation base was a little low with Qin Wentian's face, there would naturally be heavenly deities willing to guide her in her cultivation. As for the experts from the Li-Fire Palace who came with him from the supreme ancient immortal realms, Qin Wenyan didn't bring them here. Even Su Li didn't. This matter implicated too many things. Su Li only got acquainted with him because of Yi Qinyu. Although Su Li was very loyal to him, the implications of this matter were too great. Qin Wenyan didn't dare to take the risk because he had no idea who Su Li had connections with in the supreme ancient immortal realms. As for the people from Azure Mystic, it was impossible for them to have any connections with people from the supreme ancient immortal realms. This place was their home, they would definitely stand on the same side. During these years, Yi Qinyu also came to look for him, asking him why he didn't return to the supreme ancient immortal realms and if he was planning to abandon her. These words were naturally a joke, in line with Yi Qinyu's personality. Qin Wenyan told her that he finally obtained good fortune in ancient Azure Mystic and was focusing on his cultivation. He would tell her in detail when he returned. Hence, Yi Qinyu didn't continue asking. Clearly, she understood the gravity of the situation. She naturally knew about what happened in Azure Mystic. The lifelong realm had even sent 4 palace lords to the Azure Mystic immortal realms. Today, in the western region of the floating city, there was an incomparably dilapidated ancient palace. But according to the heavenly deities, this palace was once a place of faith for countless people and was worshipped by countless experts. It was a supremely powerful Buddhist sect that had countless branches and ancient temples spread across the entire ancient Azure Mystic. This place was revered by countless people like a divinity. In fact, the Skybreak heavenly deity even told Qin Wenyan that the relationship between this Buddhist sect and the imperishable heaven lord wasn't bad. They were good friends and would often chat and play chess together. From this, one could imagine what sort of existence was qualified to sit together with the imperishable heaven lord and play chess together. The Buddhist sect contained 90,000 scrolls of the Great Tao. But after the world-ending battle, not many of them could be found. But even so, the ancient scrolls that remained were still extremely profound. Hence, the Skybreak heavenly deity intentionally brought Qin Wenyan here to comprehend them. During the process of comprehending a world heart, one could add in their own comprehensions of cultivation. It wasn't just purely a fusion of source origins. In this case, the Heaven Heart mandates formed from the fusion of two source origins wouldn't have such a great disparity. The reason for the disparity was because of the difference in the comprehension of each individual. Everyone would add their own comprehensions into their Heaven Heart mandates. This comprehension included innate techniques and secret arts, as well as their comprehension of the heavenly Tao. Powerful innate techniques and secret arts could also help one to form a powerful Heaven Heart mandate or even directly comprehend a world heart. All of this was the experience of those who had walked the path before them. At this moment, Qin Wenyin quietly sat before a dilapidated Buddha statue and quietly flipped through some ancient scrolls. The words in these scrolls were directly imprinted into his mind. The Tao scriptures of the Buddhist sect were extremely profound. Qin Wenyin was completely immersed in them, engraving everything he saw into his mind. I didn't expect that the Wenxin Temple is actually just a branch of this Buddhist sect. Qin Wenyin mumbled. He flipped through the remnant scrolls of the Buddhist sect and discovered that the Wenxin Temple was actually a branch of this Buddhist sect. The Wenxin Temple didn't care about right and wrong. This time around, they didn't come here. Seems like he should bring Reverend Tianxin here to take a look if there was a chance. In front of Qin Wenyin, there was an ancient scroll with words engraved on it. Great Nirvana Immortal Art, 2nd volume. After a long time, Qin Wenyin placed all the ancient scrolls in his hand down. The divine depositories here should all belong to this place. He didn't wish to take them away. If there was a chance, he hoped that he could restore the prosperity of these divine depositories, allowing people to know about them once more. Senior, I wish to go to the world of 10,000 laws again. Qin Wenyin transmitted his voice to the Skybreak heavenly deity. Right. The Skybreak heavenly deity naturally agreed. The world of 10,000 laws was the place Qin Wenyin went to the most. Not only could he comprehend insights there was also another important use. He could try fighting against different Heaven Heart mandates. However, the prerequisite was that he had to have a certain level of strength. Qin Wenyin walked out of the ancient palace and was preparing to head to the world of 10,000 laws. At this moment, an imposing voice rang out in his mind. Qin Wenyin, are you there? This voice wasn't angry, but it was filled with might. Clearly, someone was transmitting a message to him. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed with a strange light. This should be the first time the lifelong Realm Lord is transmitting a message to him, right? Back then, the lifelong Realm Lord told him to leave a strand of his immortal sense in his messaging crystal, but he had never used it before. The relationship between the two of them was already very complicated. But after that, since the lifelong Realm Lord allowed him to become the Lifefire Palace Lord and didn't do anything to him, Qin Wenyin didn't want to be calculative about other matters. Realm Lord, what instructions do you have? Qin Wenyin replied. Why haven't you returned to the Lifefire Palace after so many years? The grand banquet that happens once every 100 years is about to begin. Could it be that you are not planning to come back to see me? The lifelong Realm Lord's tone was filled with coldness. This subordinate has important matters to attend to. I hope Realm Lord can forgive me. Qin Wenyin maintained a polite attitude as he replied. Important matters? You brought so many experts of the Lifefire Palace into Azure Mystic? What's going on with Princess Kitamura? I told her to follow the Skyair Palace Lord to the lower realms. Why was she brought away by you? The lifelong Realm Lord coldly asked, his words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash. This matter was actually known by the lifelong Realm Lord. In that case, those palace lords who entered ancient Azure Mystic didn't actually die here. Replying to Realm Lord, Yu Huang is my senior apprentice sister. Also, her father is together with me, she would naturally train together with me. Qin Wenyin understood that since the lifelong Realm Lord already received the news, he would definitely know that he and Yu Huang were in ancient Azure Mystic. Is that so? I heard that you even fought against the Skyair Palace Lord and almost killed him. As the Lifefire Palace Lord, you are truly glorious. Yet, you even dare to doubt my orders? The lifelong Realm Lord coldly snorted, as though he was here to question Qin Wenyin. This subordinate has already explained the reason earlier. I hope that Realm Lord can forgive me. Qin Wenyan was still as polite as ever. Did you encounter any good fortune in ancient Azure Mystic? The lifelong Realm Lord suddenly asked. No, ancient Azure Mystic is too vast, it's very hard for me to obtain any good harvests. I did encounter many dangers, but I'm currently searching for them. Qin Wenyan replied. There's no need for that. Come out immediately and return to the Lifefire Palace. Bring Princess Kitamura here for the lifelong banquet. The lifelong Realm Lord commanded. Realm Lord, there are many secrets hidden in ancient Azure Mystic and many good fortune. This subordinate wishes to stay here for a few more days. Qin Wenyan spoke. Impudent. The lifelong Realm Lord coldly snorted. His voice directly rang out in Qin Wenyan's mind, causing Qin Wenyan's expression to stiffen, feeling somewhat unhappy. You only need to obey. The lifelong Realm Lord directly spoke. There's no need to reply. Qin Wenyan stood at his original location. As expected, the lifelong Realm Lord didn't say anything else. However, Qin Wenyan's expression was extremely unsightly to behold. The lifelong Realm Lord actually gave a death order, telling him to return. The current him originally could completely disregard the lifelong Realm Lord's orders. However, Yi Qinyu and the others were still in the Lifefire Empyrean's palace. If he didn't return, the lifelong Realm Lord might not be able to do anything to him. What happened? The Skybreak Heavenly Deity asked. I'm the subordinate of a world overlord in the supreme ancient immortal realms. He ordered me to return. Qin Wenyan replied. What do you think? Are you not going to return after you completely break through to the world overlord realm? The Skybreak Heavenly Deity asked. Let me consider it. Qin Wenyan replied. The Skybreak Heavenly Deity didn't say anything more. In the external world, in the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom of Azure Mystic, the Sky Air Palace Lord, Xinyuan Palace Lord and Dragonsaddle Palace Lord were all here with a group of subordinates. However, the number of subordinates they had was greatly reduced. In fact, even the Kungvada Palace Lord was nowhere to be seen. Those people would forever remain in ancient Azure Mystic, unable to come out. It was also a stroke of luck that they managed to come out. Right now, they were planning to return, but Princess Kitamura has yet to come out. The Sky Air Palace Lord had no way to report back and had no choice but to report back to his master. At this moment, the silhouette of the Sky Air Palace Lord flashed as he appeared in the city, appearing before a person. A powerful might radiated from him. That person stared at the Sky Air Palace Lord as he trembled with fear. Senior. Let me ask you a few questions. Answer me honestly. The Sky Air Palace Lord spoke. Yes, Senior. That immortal emperor nodded. Although he was an immortal emperor, the person before him was definitely an ancient emperor. He couldn't afford to antagonize him. The current Azure Mystic was truly too terrifying. Do you know of Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura? Naturally. Qin Wenyan is the Heaven Empyrean of Azure Mystic and is now the Overlord of Azure Mystic. Princess Kitamura was once the princess of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, the daughter of the Dark North Immortal Emperor. How is their relationship as apprentice siblings? The Sky Air Palace Lord asked. Apprentice siblings? That immortal emperor started. Are you referring to the Heaven Empyrean and Princess Kitamura? Emichim? The Sky Air Palace Lord frowned. That immortal emperor hurriedly spoke. Senior, but from what I know, they have never been apprentice siblings. The eyes of the Sky Air Palace Lord froze as a terrifying gleam of sharpness flickered in his eyes. Chapter 1738. The Sky Air Palace Lord had a cold expression on his face as he spoke. As expected, there's something going on between them. As to why he asked about the relationship between Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura, it was because he was worried that the two of them had an unclear relationship. After all, it was possible for the two of them to be closer. This was why Qin Wenyan forcefully brought Princess Kitamura away back then. However, things were even worse than what he had imagined. Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura actually weren't fellow apprentices. In that case, The Sky Air Palace Lord could only think of that layer of relationship. He even intentionally hid this from his master. If his master announced the news in the near future that he was going to marry a broken shoe that had an illicit relationship with his subordinate, how much face would he lose? Slut, she actually dared to lie to my master and even wanted to use herself to exchange for the future of a wild man. The Sky Air Palace Lord silently mused as killing intent flashed in his eyes. He immediately thought of the dirtiest possibility because this was what he hoped for in the depths of his heart. In that case, his master would surely be angered and wouldn't spare this adulterous couple. Is the relationship between the two of them a man and a woman? The Sky Air Palace Lord stared at the immortal emperor in front of him as he coldly asked. The Xinyuan Palace Lord and Dragon Saddle Palace Lord were both here. It was better for him to clarify things clearly. He didn't want Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura to quibble. I'm not sure about that. However, there are rumors circulating in Azure Mystic. Back then, it was because Princess Kitamura's younger sister, Baiming Nongyue, was acquainted with the Heaven Empyrean. Only then did Qin Wenyan get to know Princess Kitamura and the Dark North Immortal Emperor. It said that Qin Wenyan attended a banquet in the Emperor Palace and even fought against the genius of the Hokage Sengoku Kingdom, Pei Qing. In the rumors of Azure Mystic, the Pei Qing at that time could suppress the Heaven Empyrean and had no one in his eyes at all. The reason for this was because Princess Kitamura and the Heaven Empyrean were too close. But now that Pei Qing has died, this genius of the past has become a joke, becoming a part of the legend of the Heaven Empyrean. I wonder if Senior would be able to gain anything from this. As for the other things, Junior wouldn't know. That immortal emperor honestly replied. This was indeed the legend of the Heaven Empyrean Qin Wenyan, the grudge between Pei Qing and the Heaven Empyrean. Such a classic story of not bullying the young for being poor was naturally discussed enthusiastically by everyone. Naturally, other than this, there were even more rumors about the Heaven Empyrean. It was said that other than his 2 wives, the Heaven Empyrean actually had many women. These women were all willing to follow the Heaven Empyrean, not asking for status because the Heaven Empyrean was simply too outstanding. In fact, there were even some rumors that implicated the Southern Phoenix matriarch. However, this was just the wild conjecture of some people, satisfying the curiosity of others. The vast majority of people didn't believe it. The Heaven Empyrean was a supreme character and the Southern Phoenix matriarch was also extremely beautiful. But after all, the Heaven Empyrean back then could only be considered a junior of the Southern Phoenix matriarch. His relationship with the Holy Maiden of the Namhuang clan, Namhuang Yunshi, was very good. You can go. The Sky Air Palace Lord waved his hand. He had already obtained the words he wanted to hear. Yes. After that immortal emperor left, the expression of the Sky Air Palace Lord turned cold. He stared at the Xinyuan Palace Lord and Dragon Saddle Palace Lord as he spoke. Did the 2 of you hear that? So it turns out that Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura are actually pretending to be martial siblings. In reality, they are a pair of adulterers. They actually dared to deceive their superiors and subordinates. Their hearts deserve death. A strange look flashed in the eyes of the 2 palace lords. They were indeed shocked by the relationship between Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura. But even if there really was something going on between a man and a woman, this should have nothing to do with the Sky Air Palace Lord, right? Why would the Sky Air Palace Lord come here to inquire about this? In addition, why was the Sky Air Palace Lord so angry? Could it be that there was some hidden story behind this? Let's return. I will report this matter to my master right away. The Sky Air Palace Lord coldly spoke. After that, their silhouettes flickered as they departed from this place. For this matter, Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura, who were in the Sky City of ancient Azure Mystics, still had no idea about this. They also didn't know that the Sky Air Palace Lord's image of them in such a despicable manner. However, with regards to the lifelong Realm Lord's order, Qin Wenyan was indeed considering it. His original intention was to continue cultivating for a period of time. Such opportunities were hard to come by. In the supreme ancient immortal realms, it was very rare to have such conditions for cultivation. With so many divine depositories for cultivation, A year's worth of insights would far surpass many years of cultivation outside. This would be of great help to his future path to the world overlord realm. However, he couldn't help but to consider the consequences if he didn't return. And today, Princess Kitamura, who was in the midst of cultivation, was directly interrupted by a voice in her mind. Yu Huang. The lifelong Realm Lord's voice rang out, causing Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes to flash with a strange light as she frowned. Clearly, she didn't like the lifelong Realm Lord very much. This man had a lofty status, but in reality, he was extremely scheming and was a sinister character. Back then on the surface, he agreed to pardon Yi Qinyu, but he imprisoned her in the lifelong Saint Hall and often made Yi Qinyu dance for him to admire. Wasn't this a humiliation to Yi Qinyu? It was only to satisfy some of the dark thoughts in his heart. Right now, she already knew why the lifelong Realm Lord would spare her. The lifelong Realm Lord suspected that they were both disciples of ancient Emperor Yi. In that case, if it wasn't for the lifelong Realm Lord having some trepidation towards ancient Emperor Yi and not wanting to make things too difficult for Qin Wenyan back then, he most probably would have acted against Yi Qinyu. Realm Lord. However, Princess Kitamura still took out her messaging crystal and calmly replied. It has been so many years since I left. I heard that you are now together with Qin Wenyan. Have you forgotten about me? The lifelong Realm Lord calmly asked. From his tone, it seemed that he was a little unhappy. Yu Huang doesn't dare to. Princess Kitamura replied. I told my disciple to take care of you, but you actually left with Qin Wenyan. What a waste of my good intentions. What would you do if you encountered danger? Don't forget, the date of the lifelong banquet will soon arrive. At that time, I will announce our relationship. The lifelong Realm Lord spoke. In truth, he had already received a report from his disciple, the Sky Air Palace Lord. However, he didn't reveal it and intentionally acted this way. When she heard the lifelong Realm Lord announcing their relationship, for some reason, she who had already silently accepted this matter felt a strong sense of conflict after cultivating here for so many years. She didn't know why, but she felt a strong sense of disgust from the bottom of her heart. Hence, she actually didn't reply to the lifelong Realm Lord's words. At this moment, she had no way to see the lifelong Realm Lord's expression and didn't know that her silence caused the lifelong Realm Lord's expression to turn extremely dark. As expected, everything was true. Seems like she was living a carefree life with her lover in the lower world, doing something improper. Maybe Qin Wenyan was right beside her. Upon thinking of this, the lifelong Realm Lord's expression turned even more sinister. The atmosphere in the surroundings was extremely heavy. Yu Huang, quickly return. Everything has already been arranged. You and Qin Wenyan should return together. I will also get people to make preparations for the Lifefire Palace and bring Yi Qinyu over to the lifelong Saint Hall to help me handle this matter. As for Qin Wenyan's side, I won't inform him about this. Just tell him this. The Lifefire Empyrean calmly spoke before he fell silent. At this moment, Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes flashed with anger. What did he mean by this? Although Yi Qinyu and Qin Wenyan hadn't gotten married yet, everyone in the lifelong realm knew that she was already Qin Wenyan's woman. The lifelong realm lord wanted to bring her to the lifelong Saint Hall to be in charge of their wedding preparations? Was he taking her over, or was he using Yi Qinyu as a hostage to threaten her and Qin Wenyan? When she thought of this, Princess Kitamura felt that the lifelong realm lord was truly sinister to the extreme. Was she really going to marry such a person? The conflict in her heart grew increasingly intense. Other than this, there was also unease in her heart. Now, what should she do? Should she tell Qin Wenyan about this matter? Back then, she had always kept her promise to the lifelong realm lord from Qin Wenyan. But now, the lifelong realm lord was using Yi Qinyu as a hostage. She had to tell Qin Wenyan about Yi Qinyu's situation. If not, what difference would there be between her and the lifelong realm lord? At this moment, Princess Kitamura felt somewhat helpless. She didn't keep her messaging crystal and sent a strand of her immortal sense into it. Where are you? Yuang, what's wrong? Qin Wenyan's voice rang out. This caused Princess Kitamura to understand that Qin Wenyan definitely didn't know about Yi Qinyu's matter. Come and look for me. I will tell you when we meet. This is very important. Princess Kitamura spoke. This matter couldn't be concealed any longer. Qin Wenyan nodded and asked for Princess Kitamura's location. After a long time, Qin Wenyan found Princess Kitamura. After seeing Qin Wenyan, Princess Kitamura's red lips trembled, but she didn't know what to say. What happened? Qin Wenyan couldn't help but ask when he saw Princess Kitamura hesitating to speak. Princess Kitamura's personality was cold. She was a typical ice beauty. If it wasn't something extremely important, she wouldn't take the initiative to look for him. Earlier, the lifelong realm lord came to look for me. Princess Kitamura spoke in a low voice. Qin Wenyan's eyes flashed. Is it about returning to the lifelong realm? Before this, he also sent me a message, telling me to return before the lifelong banquet. Upon hearing his words, Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes turned to him. What else? What else? Qin Wenyan started. He didn't say too much, it's just that his attitude was more unyielding and he ordered me to return. Princess Kitamura glanced at him and sighed in her heart. She then spoke in a light voice. I've been hiding something from you. What is it? Qin Wenyan could sense that Princess Kitamura seemed to be struggling. I once promised the lifelong realm lord that I will become his woman. This news will be announced during the lifelong banquet. Princess Kitamura's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled. He was stunned for a moment. He stared at Princess Kitamura and asked, Yu Huang, what's the secret behind this? Princess Kitamura felt a sense of consolation in her heart when she saw the shocked expression on Qin Wenyan's face. She lowered her head and spoke in a low voice. Back then when you killed the Lifefire Empyrean, the lifelong realm lord was considering how to settle things for him. He allowed you to inherit the Lifefire Empyrean's position and at the same time, he asked me if I was willing to become his woman. Qin Wenyan's heart trembled again as an extremely cold light flashed in his eyes. Right now, his state of heart was extremely unstable. He was the Lifefire Empyrean, but there was actually such a thing behind the scenes? In that case, the position of the Lifefire Empyrean was exchanged for by Yewang's sacrifice? Yi Qinyu's freedom was the same as well? He once felt a trace of gratitude towards the lifelong realm lord and was willing to accept the position of the Lifefire Empyrean. But he didn't expect that there was actually such a shameless side to the lifelong realm lord. After calming his emotions, Qin Wenyan glanced at Princess Kitamura, who had her head lowered. A sense of warmth appeared in his heart as he softly spoke, Silly lass. Back then, even if it wasn't him who became the Lifefire Empyrean, there was a very high possibility that this position would belong to Di Tian. Chapter 1739. Princess Kitamura started when she heard how Qin Wenyan referred to her. She inclined her head and stared at Qin Wenyan with a strange look in her eyes. When she saw Qin Wenyan's clear eyes, she lowered her head again. It was unknown what she was thinking in her heart. What else are you hiding from me? Qin Wenyan stared at Princess Kitamura as he asked, his tone filled with a hint of rebuke. There's one more thing. I wonder if Yi Qinyu has told you before. Back then in the lifelong Saint Hall, the lifelong realm lord was extremely unfriendly towards her and would often make Yi Qinyu dance for him to admire. Although Yi Qinyu felt humiliated in her heart, she endured it all for the sake of you. This was the reason why she was able to return and reunite with you later on. Princess Kitamura spoke in a light voice. Qin Wenyan's expression grew colder as he listened. So it turned out that the lifelong realm lord was actually such a despicable character. Because he guessed that Qin Wenyan was ancient Emperor Yi's disciple, he didn't dare to do anything to Qin Wenyan. Hence, he treated Yi Qianyu and Baiming Yu Huang with extreme humiliation, making Yi Qianyu dance for him. This was simply intolerable. Not long ago, the lifelong realm lord sent me a message. He told me to hurry back and prepare for the wedding. The wedding will be announced during the banquet in the lifelong realm. In addition, he also said that he transferred Yi Qianyu to the lifelong Saint Hall, letting her be in charge of this matter. I think this isn't because he wanted to arrange the wedding but because he was worried that we wouldn't be able to return. Hence, he used Yi Qianyu as a hostage to threaten you and even intentionally told me to pass this message to him. Princess Kitamura felt some guilt. She then continued, "This matter arose because of me, implicating Yi Qinyu as well. How can you be blamed for this?" Qin Wendian sighed. Everything was because of the lifelong Realm Lord. He would definitely pay the price. Seems like the lifelong Realm Lord basically doesn't want us to have a choice. We have to return even if we don't want to. Qin Wendian spoke. Princess Kitamura naturally knew that given Qin Wentian's personality, he would definitely choose to return to the supreme ancient immortal realms. He has always been like this. Now that the lifelong Realm Lord used Yi Qinyu as a hostage, no matter what situation he faced, he would definitely head back to the lifelong realm. "If it doesn't work, I'll just marry him," Princess Kitamura said in a low voice, but her tone was a little gloomy. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Qin Wenyan berated, causing Princess Kitamura to lift her head and stare at him in a daze. However, she only saw Qin Wentian's countenance was serious as he looked at her and said, "Since I know that he is such a despicable person, how can I allow you to marry such a person? If you really like him, I won't stop you, but he..." Qin Wendian spoke until here and didn't continue. His eyes flashed with killing intent. The things he has done, the ending of everything has already been determined. Princess Kitamura stared at Qin Wenyan. She knew that Qin Wentian's killing intent had already been stirred up. Anyone who encountered such a situation and knew about it would also feel killing intent. What sort of character was Qin Wendian? He naturally wouldn't allow such a thing to happen to him. She knew that the previous Lifefire Empyrean was killed by Qin Wenyan precisely because of this grudge. Right now, the lifelong Realm Lord seemed to be walking on the same path as the previous Lifefire Empyrean. However, this time around, the enemies Qin Wendian was facing were even more powerful. This was a world overlord who governed boundless territories. Below him, there were still 9 world palaces and experts from the various major powers in Lifelong City. There were also many Empyreans under him. If Qin Wenyan really chose to fight against the lifelong Realm Lord, one could very well imagine how great the pressure would be. But what should we do now? Princess Kitamura was after all a woman. Women were naturally weaker compared to men. This was something dictated by their nature. Although there were some women who were incomparably tough, they had to use their powerful wills to suppress their natural instincts. Princess Kitamura was usually someone with her own views, but for some reason, she seemed to be in a mess today. What else can we do? Let's make the necessary arrangements and prepare to return to the supreme ancient immortal realms. Qin Wentian directly spoke. He had no other choice. He could only return. There were only a few years left until the grand banquet of the lifelong realm. It was already very short. The journey was extremely long and they still had to settle the matters here. Now they had to start settling everything. "Oh," Princess Kitamura replied. It was like she would do whatever Qin Wenyan said. Although she was somewhat worried, she also heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. She made up her mind not to marry the lifelong Realm Lord. It was like a shackle in her heart had been released. She felt very relaxed. Prepare to gather everyone. Right now, the majority of them have already broken through to the Empyrean realm. I wonder if they want to continue staying here to cultivate or follow me to the supreme ancient immortal realms. Qin Wendian spoke in a low voice. He then continued, "Yuang, I'll leave first. Wait for my news." Yu Huang nodded. She didn't say anything more. Since she had already made her decision, she should be prepared to face everything. Right now, so what if they really had to face the lifelong Realm Lord? Just like what Qin Wendian has said, after tens of years of cultivation, the majority of them have already broken through to the Empyrean realm. In addition, they also have powerful divine treasures in their divine depositories. If all of them returned to the supreme ancient immortal realms, they would probably have the strength to fight against the lifelong Realm Lord's power. Naturally, the final outcome still depended on whether or not there was anyone who could deal with the lifelong Realm Lord. Most probably, only Qin Wenyan would have the guts to do so. His cultivation plan was interrupted. After Qin Wenyan left Princess Kitamura's place, he first transmitted his voice to Yi Qinyu. "Where are you now? Did you miss me?" Yi Qianyu's laughter rang out in his mind. Tell me where you are now. If you don't tell me, I will go ask the others. Qin Wendian seriously spoke, sounding somewhat strict. It wasn't that he wanted to treat Yi Qianyu like this. It was just that this woman wasn't serious and wouldn't tell you the truth. Back then, she had suffered so much but she still didn't say anything, facing life with a smile on her face. She was such a woman, as beautiful as fire, incomparably demonic. You already know, I'm in the lifelong Saint Hall. The Realm Lord told me to come here to do something. Yi Qianyu spoke in a light voice. Qin Wenyan could imagine her expression right now. It must be the kind of expression where she made a mistake but was extremely charming, causing people to not be able to bear to blame her. Did the lifelong Realm Lord do anything to you? Qin Wendian asked. Right now, the entire lifelong realm knows that I'm your woman. What else can he do to me? Don't worry, I'll be fine. Didn't you encounter some good fortune in the lower realms? You don't have to worry about me. Yi Qianyu spoke again, wanting to reassure Qin Wenyan. How could Qin Wenyan believe the words of this woman? He simply replied, "Wait for me." A single sentence surpassed 1,000 words, causing Yi Qianyu, who was in the supreme ancient immortal realm's lifelong realm, to reveal a mesmerizing smile. She was still as tyrannical and gentle as ever, truly causing people to be infatuated with her. Qin Wendian found Qin and Qin Qing and told them everything. The two of them naturally knew of Yi Qianyu's existence. Qin Wenyan has long told them about his experiences in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Both of them were the closest people in Qin Wentian's life and there were no secrets between them. In addition, Yi Qianyu's matter had to be told to them. After knowing that Yi Qianyu had sacrificed so much for Qin Wenyan, they also wanted to see for themselves how charming this charming woman Qin Wenyan spoke of was exactly. Right now, after hearing that Princess Kitamura had sacrificed so much for him, a strange look involuntarily appeared on Mo Qingqing's face. She smiled at Qin Wenyan. I've long since advised you to start a harem. In that case, if those outstanding women want to join you, you can do so. In any case, Big Sis Qin and I have no objections. Qin Wendian had a face filled with black lines. He pulled Mo Qingqing into his embrace and spoke gently. What if someone bullies you after I start a harem? There's no need to be afraid. In any case, Big Sis Qin and I are on the same side. In addition, we are the main concubines. Mo Qingqing smiled. Her beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan. Although she felt some jealousy in her heart, it wasn't too intense. She had long understood that with Qin Wenyan by his side, how could there be a lack of outstanding women who liked him? In the azure mystic immortal realms, there were many beauties by his side. Could it be that she and Qin couldn't tell what they were thinking? Also, both of them had told Qin Wendian before that as long as Qin Wendian liked them, they wouldn't say anything. As for the jealousy in her heart, it was because in the supreme ancient immortal realms, the ones who accompanied Qin Wenyan and sacrificed so much for Qin Wenyan were Yi Qianyu and Princess Kitamura, not her. This caused her to feel some disappointment in her heart. Silly. Qin Wenyan gently planted a kiss on Mo Qingqing's forehead, causing her face to instantly turn red. She glared at him before stealthily glancing at Qin. Big Sis Qin is still here. Huh, it's not like I haven't hugged two beauties before. Qin Wenyan laughed loudly, pulling Qin into his embrace as well. The pitiful Mo Qingqing and Qin were completely speechless when faced with this shameless fellow. They could only silently endure Qin Wentian's bullying. Wenyan, no matter what you do, I will support you. But this time when you return, you are not allowed to cast us aside. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes stared at Qin Wenyan as she seriously spoke. Everything else could be left up to Qin Wenyan, including the girls he liked. However, she had to be by his side no matter what. This was the only thing she couldn't compromise on. Qin Wenyan bitterly smiled. He really did have such thoughts. After all, the person he was going to the supreme ancient immortal realms this time around was the lifelong Realm Lord. But when he saw Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes as well as Qin Er's cold gaze, Qin Wendian knew that there was no room for discussion. He could only nod his head. Okay, I will bring you guys along. Upon hearing Qin Wentian's promise, A charming smile instantly appeared on Emo Qingqing's face as she gently leaned into his embrace. Qin Wenyin felt a myriad of emotions in his heart. What virtue or ability did he have exactly to make so many outstanding females give up so much for him? Several days later, at the location where the heavenly deities held Tao lectures, before the imperishable Heaven Lord statue, everyone had arrived. Naturally, they were all gathered here by Qin Wenyin. Not a single one of them was left behind. Right now, there was no need to doubt Qin Wentian's rallying power. Regardless of elders or friends, Qin Wenyan was the absolute center of their hearts. There was no need to mention the people from the Battle Saint tribe and the myriad Devil Islands. They were all considered to be Qin Wentian's subordinates. Has everyone made a decision? Let me reiterate, if there are people who are willing to stay here to cultivate, I will still respect your choice. Qin Wentian spoke. Before this, he had already communicated with everyone. Since they came here, all of them expressed their willingness to follow him to the supreme ancient immortal realms. No one said anything. Everyone was willing to head to the supreme ancient immortal realms. After cultivating for so many years, in truth, they also wanted to go there to broaden their horizons. Right now, they had a blind trust in Qin Wenyin. This was a young man who could create miracles. Chapter 1740. In Heaven Empyrean city of Azure Mystic, the experts of the various powers gathered their subordinates. The Dark North Immortal Emperor summoned his descendants, the Southern Phoenix Matriarch summoned her holy maidens and future holy maidens, the 100 Refinements sect and Jadestige Immortal Palace did the same as well, instructing them on what to do after they left. Before this, when the Dark North Immortal Emperor and the others entered ancient Azure Mystic, they brought some core immortal emperors with them. It was the same for the Namhuang clan as well. Although everyone was willing to follow Qin Wenyan to the supreme ancient immortal realms, Azure Mystic couldn't be left without people. Hence, they decided to temporarily leave those immortal emperors behind to control the situation in Azure Mystic. At the same time, they also gathered their subordinates here because they wanted to pass on the inheritance to them. Everything happened too suddenly. Those who were gathered here from the various powers were all stunned. They didn't expect that after disappearing for tens of years, the leaders of the various powers would actually pass on their positions to their descendants. If news of this spread out, it would definitely cause a huge earthquake in the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms. This was a collective handover of power. When has such a major event ever happened in Azure Mystic before? Azure Mystic hasn't completely calmed down yet. The handover of power was a must. There was a need for people to stay behind as well. If not, the newly established order in Heaven Empyrean City might be directly broken, causing chaos to descend into Azure Mystic again. Also, Qin Wenyan chose to temporarily let Di Tian stay behind to protect Azure Mystic. If there was a chance, Di Tian could represent him to enter the sky city of ancient Azure Mystic again. Not only were the people from the various powers shocked, even Su Li and the other experts from the Li-Fire Palace who were brought to the lower world by Qin Wenyan were stunned as well. They discovered that after this trip to ancient Azure Mystic, after tens of years, those who left with Qin Wenyan all underwent a transformation. Many of their auras were completely different. They had no way to sense their exact cultivation bases, but it was very possible that they have already broken through the gate of the Immortal Emperor realm. This caused them to feel extremely envious. The monarchs and governors of the Li-Fire Palace all stared at Qin Wenyan with a different look in their eyes. Was this the ability and charm of this new palace lord? Sadly, they haven't become his trusted subordinates yet. If not, they might have a share of the good fortune this time around. Naturally, they wouldn't have any bad thoughts. After all, they understood that they were subordinates of the previous Li-Fire Empyrean. After Qin Wenyan took over, it was already considered very good that he didn't do anything to them. It was impossible for him to treat them as his trusted subordinates. In addition, even Yi Qianyu's subordinate Su Li wasn't brought along. What complaints could they have? However, some people silently vowed in their hearts that they would definitely follow this new Li-Fire Empyrean well in the future. Their future would all depend on him. After everything was settled, Qin Wenyan decided to set off. Today, many of his family and friends gathered in Heaven Empyrean City to send him off. His foster father Qin Chuan Yiqingyun, his elder sister Qin Yao Yilinyan, his friends Ouyang, Fan Lu, Luo Huan, Lin Shuai and the others, all these familiar faces were present. Right now, there was no need for them to return to their particle worlds. This entire world belonged to the Heaven Empyrean, Qin Wenyan. Everything here belonged to them and they no longer had to depend on others. If they wanted to cultivate, they could cultivate. If they wanted to get resources, they could get resources. If they wanted to live a carefree life, they could do so. Qin Wenyan told them to stay in Heaven Empyrean City peacefully. When they felt bored, they could go out to temper themselves. When they missed their hometown, they could just ask immortal emperors to send them back to their particle worlds for a period of time. He believed that there wouldn't be any immortal emperors who would reject such a request. Right now, everyone wanted nothing more than to form a good relationship with the Heaven Empyrean. As long as they made a request, there would surely be many people who would respond. During these years, everyone could also feel how imposing Qin Wenyan was now. When a man achieved the Tao, even his chickens and dogs could ascend to the heavens. Such a happy life, what else could they not think about? If they wanted to improve further, they could only rely on the resources here to cultivate. Fairy Qin Mei stared at her disciple, feeling a little reluctance in her heart. The supreme ancient immortal realms? That place was simply too far away to her. The people of the Mo residence gathered around Mo Qingqing. This was especially so for her parents. Her younger siblings were all staring at Qin Wenyan. Brother-in-law, are you not going to guide us in our cultivation anymore? Brother-in-law has something important to do. There are many immortal emperors in the Heaven Empyrean Palace. It's enough for them to guide you guys. You guys can seek guidance from them. I won't be able to guide you personally. Qin Wenyan gently spoke. Stinking brat, we always spend more time apart than together. Be more careful outside. Luo Huan glared at Qin Wenyan as she spoke. Understood, senior sister. Qin Wenyan bitterly smiled. Take good care of Qingqing and Qing. If you dare to bully them, be careful that your senior sister will deal with you. How would I dare to? It's fine as long as they don't bully me. Qin Wenyan smiled. After that, he bowed to Qin Chuan, Yi Qingyun and the other elders. This child is unfilial and has to travel far away. In the future, when I have a stable footing in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, I will definitely bring Father to the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms and we will always be together. Go on, we have lived for so many years, we don't need you to worry about us. Just be careful when you are outside. Qin Chuan smiled. Qin Wenyan nodded. This scene felt very familiar. Back then when he left his particle world, he had experienced such a scene as well. But this time around, there were many people following him. His two beloved wives, Qingqing and Qing, many elders like Chongqing the Great, Bai Wuya and the others, as well as many friends like Jun Mingchen, Nam Huang Yunxi, Purgatory, Little Rascal, Bai Qing, and even many subordinates. This time around, he brought a powerful force with him. He wasn't as lonely as before. Let's move out. Qin Wenyan spoke. After that, the group of them departed from the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. Right now, the spatial passageway connecting the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms to the Azure Mystic Immortal Realms has already been established. This spatial passageway was built by a few extremely powerful powers, but it wasn't free. Every time they wanted to use it, they would have to pay a hefty price. But even so, there would still be people coming in and out of the spatial passageway and they would be able to earn huge profits from it. Such an opportunity was naturally seized by some powers. In a short period of time, this might not be considered much. But this definitely wasn't a short-term profit. As long as they occupied this spatial passageway, in the future, in the thousands, tens of thousands, or even millions of years, how terrifying would the profits be? To those peak powers, they had never lacked foresight and foresight. The loosening of the seal on Azure Mystic was naturally an opportunity for them. They would naturally seize it. This also made things more convenient for Qin Wenyan. Right now, he didn't have the strength to establish a spatial passageway connecting the immortal realms. He could only allow those peak powers of the immortal realms to do so. He wouldn't interfere. Borrowing the power of the spatial passageway, after paying a hefty price, the group of them directly crossed the immortal realms and returned to the supreme ancient immortal realms. However, the distance between them and the lifelong realm was extremely far. After traveling for a very long period of time, only then did Qin Wenyan bring the experts from the supreme ancient immortal realms back to the Lifefire Palace. In the Lifefire Palace, Yi Qinyu was no longer there. The evil emperor also followed her back to the lifelong Saint Hall. After Qin Wenyan returned, he directly informed the governors, monarchs, protectors and the others to gather here for a discussion. Everyone used their fastest speed to head to the Lifefire Palace. In the Lifefire Great Hall, Qin Wenyan sat on the throne. Experts around him were as common as clouds, all of them exuding transcendent auras. Other than him, there were two other supreme beauties sitting on his left and right respectively. Their beauty was extremely outstanding, resembling goddesses. Your subordinates pay our respects to Palace Lord. Everyone bowed in unison. On the way here, Qin Wenyan had already told his friends and family about his situation in the supreme ancient immortal realms. Hence, everyone didn't feel surprised. They were only shocked at Qin Wenyan's capabilities. He came here alone to roam the supreme ancient immortal realms and actually became a palace lord. All the immortal emperors bowed to him. If it wasn't for the sake of peace in Azure Mystic, in truth, Qin Wenyan wouldn't even be bothered by their strength. These two are my wives, Evergreen Qin and Evergreen Qin. Qin Wenyan solemnly introduced. From now onwards, the two of them would follow him by his side. His subordinates naturally had to be acquainted with each other. We pay our respects to Madam. Everyone bowed again, extremely courteous, not daring to show any disrespect in their eyes. They had all heard of some news. Yi Qinyu was brought to the lifelong Saint Hall because the Realm Lord was unhappy with the lifelong Empyrean. They had no idea what would happen in the banquet this time around. Right now, the lifelong Empyrean's heart was filled with rage. It was best for them not to antagonize the lifelong Empyrean or the consequences would be extremely dire. Is the grand banquet of the lifelong realm about to commence soon? Qin Wenyan asked the experts here. Replying to Palace Lord, it will be held a few months later. Qin Wenyan nodded. Everyone, do your best to handle the matter regarding the tributes well. There's also one more thing I have to inform everyone in advance. I'm sure everyone already knows about the matter of Yi Qinyu being invited to the lifelong Saint Hall by the Realm Lord, right? Everyone instantly shut their mouths when they heard this. This matter implicated the lifelong Realm Lord, and it was truly a little too sensitive. At this moment, it was best for them to keep their mouths shut. If they spoke too much, it would be easy for them to make mistakes. They couldn't afford to offend anyone. I'm afraid that the Realm Lord is somewhat unhappy with me. This time around, it's hard for me to continue sitting on my position as the Lifefire Palace Lord. If I'm really stripped of my position by the Realm Lord, I might have to leave. In the future, everyone will definitely do your best to work for the Realm Lord. Naturally, if there are people who are willing to follow me, I won't let everyone down. Qin Wenyan spoke. Upon hearing Qin Wenyan's straightforward words, the eyes of the various monarchs and governors flickered unceasingly. There was a deeper meaning to his words. It was just that at such a time, should they express their loyalty and follow him? If they did so, the Realm Lord would definitely hear of it. At that time, it would mean that they really wanted to follow Qin Wenyan and leave. In such a situation, words couldn't be casually spoken. Maybe the Realm Lord doesn't have such intentions. Palace Lord is just thinking too much. A monarch spoke. That's right. The Palace Lord has the trust of the Realm Lord. Why would the Realm Lord touch the Palace Lord's position? The few of them spoke one after another. Although they seemed to be talking nonsense, this was also a kind of attitude. All of them were saying that nothing would happen to Qin Wenyan. But if something really happened to Qin Wenyan, they clearly wouldn't follow him. Qin Wenyan smiled as he nodded his head at the crowd. That gaze of his caused many in the crowd to shiver. They had already offended Qin Wenyan. Chapter 1741. Qin Wenyan stared at the crowd and waved his hands. Everyone, you can leave now. Once your preparations are done, come back to the Lifefire Palace and follow me back to Lifelong City. Yes, Palace Lord. Everyone bowed and bid their farewell. After that, they departed respectively. Naturally, Su Li and the others who followed Qin Wenyan to the lower world stayed behind. Mo Fei was here as well. Right now, Mo Fei was a protector of the Lifefire Palace. Palace Lord, does the Lifelong Realm Lord really intend to take over your position? Mo Fei walked over and asked, "What if I tell you that the situation is even more serious than this? What would you think?" Qin Wenyan smiled at Mo Fei. This caused Mo Fei's gaze to freeze before he bitterly smiled. "Palace Lord, has Vice Palace Lord Di Tian not returned yet?" Mo Fei didn't know that Qin Wenyan and Di Tian were the same person. Back then, they made a bet on Di Tian and had a very good relationship with him. "Protector Mo, you can leave first." Qin Wenyan nodded lightly. Mo Fei should be contacting Di Tian. After everyone left, Qin Wenyan silently mused. For these people who left today, he could consider replacing them with his own people in the future. Di Tian had already nurtured a batch of people. As for the Empyreans he brought with him, they would naturally follow him in the future. The Lifelong Saint Hall should receive the news soon. Su Li spoke to Qin Wenyan in a light voice. "Since I've already returned, the Realm Lord shouldn't be suspicious anymore. Qin Yu's side is naturally safe as well. Everything will just have to wait for the Lifelong Banquet." Qin Wenyan mumbled. After that, the Lifelong Realm Lord sent a voice transmission to Princess Kitamura, asking why Princess Kitamura didn't return directly. Princess Kitamura replied that her father was in the Lifefire Palace and she asked the Realm Lord to allow her to stay for a few more days. In the Lifelong Saint Hall, the Lifelong Realm Lord's expression was extremely unsightly after he received Princess Kitamura's reply. There was no one else in front of him, only his personal disciple, the Sky Heir Empyrean, was present. "Master, is she unwilling to come?" The Sky Heir Palace Lord asked when he saw the Lifelong Realm Lord's expression. "Slut, it seems like what you said was right. The two of them really did have an improper relationship. If you hadn't discovered it this time, my illustrious reputation would have been tarnished." The Lifelong Realm Lord coldly spoke. With Princess Kitamura staying in the Lifefire Palace, he would naturally think of some despicable things. "I heard that Qin Wenyan even brought his wife back. He even summoned the various monarchs and governors, telling them that Master is unhappy with him and might strip him of his position as Palace Lord. He asked them what their choice would be." The Sky Heir Palace Lord laughed. As for Qin Wenyan, he should still be in the dark right now. He probably didn't know anything at all. Did he just remove his position as the Lifefire Palace Lord? Wasn't his thinking a little too simple? He actually dared to bring his wife and loved ones to the Lifefire Palace? He simply didn't know the immensity of death. He wants people to follow him. The Lifelong Realm Lord coldly laughed. Did he treat those monarchs and governors as fools? If he was unhappy with the Lifefire Empyrean, who would dare to follow him? Could it be that they were tired of living? He was the true master of the Lifelong Realm. How ridiculous, he doesn't have any self-awareness at all. The Sky Heir Palace Lord mocked. However, this disciple also heard that this Qin Wenyan really knows how to enjoy life. Not only is Yi Qianyu so beautiful, his two wives are also supreme beauties. In addition, Princess Kitamura's beauty is also outstanding. He truly knows how to enjoy life. The Lifelong Realm Lord's eyes flashed with coldness when he heard this. When the matter of Princess Kitamura was mentioned, he felt extremely unhappy. This was simply a humiliation to him. The woman who agreed to be his wife actually had an unclear relationship with Qin Wenyan? What did they treat him as? In this lifelong realm, his subordinates actually dared to humiliate him like this. But, do you have any thoughts about it? The Lifelong Realm Lord stared at his disciple and smiled. If you like it, do you want me to bestow it to you? This disciple doesn't have such interests. It's just that Princess Kitamura's body is in tatters and she actually dared to lie to Master. Such an act must be severely punished. As for these women, we should make proper arrangements for them in the future. The Sky Air Palace Lord sinisterly spoke. This pair of master and disciple were both major characters of their respective regions, but right now, they were actually discussing such an unbearable topic. Because the lifelong Realm Lord felt that he was humiliated by his subordinates. As for the Sky Air Palace Lord, he naturally wanted to take revenge on Qin Wenyin. He still couldn't forget that humiliating sword strike in the ancient battlefield. Let them enjoy life for a few more days. The lifelong Realm Lord wasn't in a hurry. He could directly head to the Lifefire Palace and capture Qin Wenyin right now. But if he did so, it would be beneath his status. If news of this matter were to spread out, it wouldn't be good for his reputation. This was something he absolutely couldn't tolerate. Hence, he decided to wait until the lifelong banquet started and Qin Wenyin delivered himself to his doorstep. As for Princess Kitamura, did she still think that he would announce her marriage? How ridiculous! Qin Wenyin didn't know what the lifelong Realm Lord was thinking. He only inquired about Yi Qianyu's situation. Right now, the lifelong Realm Lord only imprisoned her in the lifelong Saint Hall, not allowing her to leave, and didn't do anything to her. Today, Jialan Yuntian of the Jialan clan went to look for Qin Wenyin. Right now, there were many people from the Jialan clan working in the Lifefire Palace. Jialan Chuyue also seriously reminded the Jialan clan to maintain a good relationship with Qin Wenyin no matter what. Hence, after Jialan Yuntian learned that something might have happened in the lifelong realm, he personally brought Jialan Chuyue here to pay a visit. At this moment, Qin Wenyin was dressed in simple white robes. Jialan Chuyue stared at his handsome figure as a complicated look flashed in her eyes. She would never be able to forget the shock in her heart when Qin Wenyin removed his mask. Jialan clan leader, what's the matter? Qin Wenyin asked. I heard that Palace Lord regathered the various monarchs and governors, saying that the Realm Lord is unhappy with Palace Lord and might remove him from his position? Jialan Yuntian asked. That's true. Qin Wenyin nodded. Logically speaking, if Qin Wenyin was removed, the person who would take over the Lifefire Palace Lord's position would most likely be Di Tian. However, Jialan Chuyue knew that things wouldn't be so simple. At the very least, it wouldn't be as simple as what Qin Wenyin said. Hence, she urged Jialan Yuntian to come and meet with Qin Wenyin. Palace Lord, do you have any countermeasures? Jialan Yuntian asked. What countermeasures can I take? Qin Wenyin smiled. Jialan Yuntian stared at him. He didn't believe it. Back then, Qin Wenyin joined forces with Di Tian and pulled the previous Lifefire Palace Lord down from his high horse, even killing him before he ascended to his current position. Would he admit defeat so easily and allow the lifelong Realm Lord to remove him from his position? Regardless of his intuition or Jialan Chuyue, both were reminding him that Qin Wenyin wasn't a simple character. Palace Lord, do you have anything you need my Jialan clan to do? Jialan Yuntian directly spoke after a moment of silence, his words causing Qin Wenyin to stare at him. This time, his opponent was the Lifefire Empyrean. The Jialan clan actually dared to stand on his side? Although the Jialan clan wanted to seize the position of one of the 9 World Palace Lords, this was something they could do with their current strength. However, the Realm Lord was the true ruler of the boundless territories, a supreme existence. This was also why Qin Wenyin didn't have any intentions of getting reinforcements. There was basically no way for him to do so, because the enemy was the Realm Lord, the master of the lifelong realm. If I give the command, would the Jialan clan dare to obey? Qin Wenyin casually laughed, his words causing Jialan Yuntian's heart to tremble. These words contained a hidden meaning. Just like what he had guessed, this matter definitely wouldn't be so simple. There was a high possibility that the scene that happened in the Lifefire Palace back then would play out in the lifelong realm. However, the ending couldn't be seen clearly and it seemed like it was already destined. But back then, didn't everyone predict the ending as well? But who would have guessed it correctly? Right now, the person sitting on the Lifefire Empyrean's seat was none other than Qin Wenyin. I have no say in this, I have to consult my father. Jialan Yuntian spoke. Since this is the case, what else is there for the Jialan clan leader to say? Qin Wendian laughed. He then turned to Jialon Chuyue. Is Miss Chuyue doing well? Jialon Chuyue cast a deep glance at Qin Wendian and replied, What if I don't say? If you are free, you can come to the Li-Fire Palace for a walk. Qin Wendian didn't directly reply. Jialon Chuyue was in love with Di Tian, but he couldn't accept such feelings. In truth, he also understood in his heart that right now, there were already many women who were entangled with him. For some things, it was better to break it off when it was time. Palace Lord. Jialon Yuntian suddenly spoke. The Jialon clan is a clan after all. It's impossible for us to die for the lifelong Realm Lord. But if Palace Lord truly has the ability to defy the heavens and change fate, the Jialon clan is willing to follow you. Qin Wendian glanced at Jialon Yuntian. Actually, he was very clear in his heart that if the lifelong Realm Lord could suppress him, who would dare to stand beside him? He had already hinted that a war might break out. Jialon Yuntian had the intention to follow him, but the prerequisite was that Qin Wendian had to be able to deal with the lifelong Realm Lord. Because, although it could be said that Jialon Yuntian was willing to follow Qin Wendian, there was no meaning to it. This was something that couldn't satisfy both sides. If Qin Wendian could really topple the lifelong Realm Lord, who would dare to not follow him? I understand. You can go now. Qin Wendian calmly spoke. Jialon Yuntian had a bitter smile on his face when he saw Qin Wendian's attitude. He then stood up and said, I'll take my leave first. After speaking, he brought Jialon Chuyue away. Qin Wendian still sat there with a look of contemplation on his face. But at this moment, a voice suddenly rang out in his mind. Qin Wendian, I heard that you offended the lifelong Realm Lord? Qin Wendian immediately took out his messaging crystal and replied. Is it troublesome? The other party asked. There might be a head-on conflict. Qin Wendian replied. The other party started before he exclaimed in shock. Seems like you must have encountered some good fortune in the lower world. Do you want me to inform Master? Senior, you can come? Qin Wendian was shocked. The person who transmitted the message to him was none other than the Gemini Palace Lord. I don't dare to guarantee it. The other party replied. If Senior E can come, this junior will naturally be filled with gratitude. Qin Wendian replied. It's fine if he can't, I will do my best. Oh yeah, I've brought many people from the Battle Saint tribe over to the Li-Fire Palace. This time around, I'll let you guys meet them when we head to Lifelong City. The other party started when he heard this. After that, he smiled. I didn't expect that I would still be able to meet a junior. Wendian, thank you. Chapter 1742. The grand banquet of the lifelong realm that was held once every 100 years was always the grandest event in the lifelong realm. In Lifelong City, experts were as common as clouds. Experts from all the major and minor powers of the lifelong realm were all gathered here. This was another grand banquet that would only happen once every 100 years. There were even some powers who wanted to come and take a look at it. It was rumored that during the previous grand banquet, Qin Wendian and Di Tian's names shook the entire lifelong realm. They rose to fame after a single battle, defeating all the immortal emperors of the 9 world palaces and obtaining the recognition of the Realm Lord. After that, the two of them joined forces in Li-Fire City and killed the Li-Fire Empyrean, replacing him. Qin Wendian became the Li-Fire Empyrean while Di Tian became the Vice Palace Lord. Right now, Qin Wendian and Di Tian have already broken through to the Empyrean realm. There was naturally no need for them to contend against immortal emperors. They would send their subordinates to participate in the sparring between the 9 world palaces. It was unknown who would become famous this time around. At the grand banquet that was held once every 100 years, they would still have the chance to meet the famous characters of the 9 world palaces. The legendary lifelong Realm Lord, as well as the Empyrean of the Desolate Heaven Palace, the Li-Fire Empyrean and others. Many people were filled with anticipation. The peak powers of Lifelong City and the 9 world palaces would also come to participate. Lifelong City was bustling with activity. Many people were filled with anticipation. However, they didn't realize that a storm was brewing in the darkness. Maybe, It would be a bolt of lightning, but at the very least, it was still calm and tranquil. Only a minority of the core powers could feel the commotion. For example, the Xinyuan clan, Jialan clan, and the other major powers. The Sky Air Palace Lord and Gemini Palace Lord naturally knew about this as well. Qin Wenyan led the experts of the Lifefire Palace and arrived in Lifelong City. The Lifelong Saint Hall naturally received the news. The Lifelong Realm Lord coldly laughed in his heart. As expected, Qin Wenyan still had no idea what was going on. In the end, he still took the initiative to send himself here. He simply doesn't know the immensity of death. Qin Wenyan and Princess Kitamura were in cahoots with each other, actually scheming against him. This was simply a humiliation to him. He wanted to make Qin Wenyan lose all face during the lifelong banquet. Right now, Qin Wenyan and his group were temporarily staying in the Jialan clan. Their arrival caused many people to pay their respects because everyone still didn't know about his relationship with the lifelong Realm Lord. With regards to this new Lifefire Empyrean, everyone felt that his future was boundless and they naturally wanted to maintain a good relationship with him. Naturally, there were also some people who received news that the Lifelong Saint Hall had already sent people to bring Yi Qinyu to the Lifelong Saint Hall a long time ago. This might seem like an insignificant matter, but if one thought about Yi Qinyu's identity, it would be extremely strange. Don't forget that back then, Yi Qinyu was once imprisoned in the Lifelong Saint Hall. Hence, some powers sensed an unusual aura and didn't pay a visit to Qin Wenyan, the Lifefire Empyrean, choosing to maintain some distance from him. If not, if the Realm Lord was truly unhappy with Qin Wenyan and learned that they were close to Qin Wenyan, things would be extremely bad. But at this moment, the Jialan clan, who clearly already knew the truth, actually allowed Qin Wenyan to stay in their clan. This was extremely meaningful. As for Qin Wenyan, he naturally understood the meaning behind this. Right now, Jialan Jiangshan and the other core members of the Jialan clan were together with Qin Wenyan. Jialan Jiangshan had tried to seize the position of a palace lord twice, but he failed both times. In truth, he felt extremely defeated in his heart. But when he saw Qin Wenyan and Di Tian back then, he could only sigh in admiration. The new generation was replacing the old. After receiving Jialan Yuntian's report, he understood that the Jialan clan was about to welcome another opportunity. It's just that this opportunity might require them to place a huge bet. If they were careless, they might implicate the entire Jialan clan. Palace Lord Qin, I'll get straight to the point. I've already forbidden outsiders from entering this place. Since Palace Lord Qin clearly knows that the Realm Lord might target you this time around, are you prepared to fight against the Realm Lord? Jialan Jiangshan directly asked. You should know why I wanted the Lifefire Empyrean to die back then, right? Now that the Realm Lord has brought Yi Qinyu to the Lifelong Saint Hall, I have no choice but to come. Qin Wenyan calmly spoke, his words causing Jialan Jiangshan to feel shock in his heart. That's right, this situation was very similar to the Lifefire Empyrean back then. But back then, Qin Wenyan's enemy was the Lifefire Empyrean. This time around, his enemy was even stronger. They couldn't even be mentioned in the same breath. Because his opponent was the lifelong Realm Lord. Palace Lord Qin, do you have 50% confidence? Jialan Jiangshan stared at Qin Wenyan as he asked again. So what if I do? So what if I don't? Qin Wenyan replied. If Palace Lord Qin has a 50% chance of success, our Jialan clan is willing to gamble our lives and follow Palace Lord Qin. But if we don't even have a 50% chance, our Jialan clan will not participate in this. At that time, we will not participate in the lifelong banquet. Jialan Jiangshan spoke. If they participated in this, if the Realm Lord gave the order, the entire lifelong realm would have to listen to him. Who would dare to defy him? 50% confidence was the bottom line of the Jialan clan. If they could, they were willing to gamble once more. Isn't the Jialan clan afraid that I will make use of you all again? Qin Wenyan spoke. This was equivalent to him admitting that he made use of the Jialan clan back then. Naturally, everything was already in the past. The Jialan clan also knew this in their hearts. This time around is different from the past. Back then, Palace Lord Qin already had a grudge with my Jialan clan. Now that the Jialan monarch has died, the grudge has already been resolved. Just like how Jialan Chuyue has faith in Palace Lord Qin, I'm still willing to trust Palace Lord Qin once more. Jialan Jiangshan spoke. Even if I say I do, what can the Jialan clan do for me? You guys have to understand that if I really have the strength to contend against the Realm Lord, I don't lack the Jialan clan. Qin Wentian's words were straightforward. Back then, since I dared to vie for the position of the Lifefire Palace Lord, this proves that I have some connections in the Lifelong Saint Hall. In Lifelong City, I'm also familiar with many major powers and might be able to influence some of them. Naturally, the prerequisite is that you have enough strength to let others know that you can contend against the Lifelong Realm Lord. In addition, you definitely don't know that the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord, the strongest of the 9 world palaces in the Lifelong Realm, actually has an extremely bad relationship with the Realm Lord. Qin Wentian's eyes flashed. There was actually such a thing? Since this is the case, would the Realm Lord still allow him to exist? Qin Wentian spoke. Based on his current understanding of the Lifelong Realm Lord, the Realm Lord was definitely not a magnanimous person. This matter involves a secret. The people in the outside world wouldn't know about it. Also, if news of this spreads out, it would be a scandal for the Realm Lord. Jialan Jiangshan spoke. There are rumors in the outside world saying that the Realm Lord wants to accept the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord as a disciple. Palace Lord Qin, do you know about this? I've heard of it before. Qin Wentian nodded. Once, when the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord was working under the Realm Lord, he got to know a maiden with extraordinary beauty and talent named Fairy Biwa. It's rumored that the maiden's beauty could even cause the moon to blush. The two of them admired each other, but the Lifelong Realm Lord suddenly interfered, snatching Fairy Biwa away, taking her into the harem of the Lifelong Saint Hall, and even gave birth to a son for him. He knew that the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord hated him out of jealousy and wanted to accept Fairy Biwa as a disciple. In such a situation, how could the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord agree? It was precisely because he didn't agree that the Realm Lord wanted to eliminate him. However, Fairy Biwa and the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord truly had feelings for each other. What was the reason for her to compromise? She naturally wouldn't allow the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord to be harmed. Jialan Jiangshan slowly spoke. The gist of the matter is as such, but I'm not too clear about the details. In any case, although the Desolate Heaven Palace is the #1 palace, the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord is very low profile and rarely makes a move. His position is unshakable, but once he has the strength to threaten the Lifelong Realm Lord, the Lifelong Realm Lord would definitely not spare him. However, I guess given the character of the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord, he would definitely take revenge. It's just that he doesn't have the strength to do so and has been enduring silently. Qin Wentian felt even more rage in his heart when he heard this. This matter was very similar to the conditions the Lifelong Realm Lord set for Princess Kitamura. He didn't expect that the Lifelong Realm Lord actually had such a record. He was simply despicable to the extreme, using his status as the Lifelong Realm Lord to do whatever he wanted, treating the world as his own, even seizing the women of his subordinates. What do you mean by saying all this? Qin Wentian asked. I can try to persuade the Desolate Heaven Palace Lord. If you can truly display the strength to contend against the Lifelong Realm Lord, he would definitely respond to you and cause a huge commotion during the Lifelong Banquet. Even the subordinates of the Lifelong Realm Lord wouldn't dare to act recklessly. At that time, the pressure on you would be greatly reduced. Jialan Jiangshan spoke. Qin Wentian nodded his head. This was logical. Naturally, the prerequisite was that he had to have the strength to contend against the Lifelong Overlord, and he would have to display it during the Lifelong Banquet. At this moment, a person suddenly walked in from outside. Jialan Jiangshan frowned. Didn't I say that no one is to disturb me? That person bowed. The people from the Xinyuan clan said that they are here to pay a visit with the Xinyuan Palace Lord, saying that they have something important to report. That's why the Xinyuan clan? What are they doing here? Jialan Jiangshan asked with some bewilderment. They are here to look for me. Qin Wentian smiled. Seems like the communication between Di Tian and the Xinyuan clan was quite effective. It wasn't appropriate for the Xinyuan Palace Lord to appear personally, hence, he brought someone here to pass a message. He wondered what the message was. Jialan Jiangshan's eyes flashed as he cast a deep glance at Qin Wenyin. Seems like Qin Wenyin was also plotting something in the dark. Let's meet them then. Jialan Jiangshan stood up. Everyone walked towards the front of the king, and soon after, they saw Xinyuan Hao. Back then when Di Tian came here for the first time, the person he saw was none other than Xinyuan Hao, representing the Xinyuan clan to form a marriage alliance with the Jialan clan. Palace Lord Qin. Xinyuan Hao clasped his hands. After we parted ways in ancient Azure Mystic, I wonder if the Xinyuan Palace Lord has any message for me? Qin Wendian smiled as he asked. The Palace Lord wants me to pass a message that he will treat the lifelong banquet seriously. Xinyuan Hao spoke. Qin Wendian's eyes flashed, treating it seriously. What did these words mean exactly? Just a single message? Qin Wendian asked. The Palace Lord only wants me to pass this message. Xinyuan Hao bitterly smiled. In truth, he also had no idea what was going on. I understand. Qin Wendian calmly replied. Seems like the Xinyuan Palace Lord was telling him that he would observe the situation and wouldn't directly target him. Although he didn't promise anything, this was also a form of goodwill. The Xinyuan Palace Lord didn't want to offend him. Jialan Jiangshan's eyes flashed. Seems like the undercurrents were surging. This time around, something major was going to happen in the lifelong banquet. Chapter 1743. Outside the lifelong Saint Hall, at the top of the 10,000-meter flight of stairs, the statue of the lifelong Realm Lord could be seen, receiving the worship of countless people. When the grand banquet began, the 10 towering platforms were constructed once more. The World Palace Lords occupied 9 of them, and in the center, there was a gigantic training ground where the competition would be held. At this moment, there were already countless people gathered below the towering platforms, coming here to watch the grand banquet. This time around, I wonder who will be the most dazzling out of the 9 world palaces. Someone mused silently as he stared at the towering platforms. I heard that the Kungvada Palace Lord went to the lower realms and died during a mission the Realm Lord set up. Right now, there's still no one to take over the position of the Kungvada Palace Lord. There's a high possibility that the Realm Lord would appoint a new Kungvada Palace Lord during this banquet. Seems like this is an opportunity for many powers. There would surely be many contending for the position of the new Kungvada Palace Lord in the dark. In the previous banquet, 2 supreme geniuses appeared in the Lifefire Palace. Qin Wenyin and Di Tian, causing the Lifefire Palace to be in the limelight, almost stealing the glory of the desolate Heaven Palace. Sadly, that generation's Lifefire Palace Lord didn't enjoy this treatment for long before he was killed by the 2 supreme geniuses under him. This time around, Qin Wenyin and Di Tian will be the new Lifefire Palace Lord and Di Tian. I wonder if the Lifefire Palace would be able to steal the glory of the other world palaces. Many people discussed. The date of the grand banquet finally arrived. Outside the lifelong realm, the atmosphere was extremely lively. It was unknown how many experts were gathered here. The desolate Heaven Palace Lord has arrived. This time around, the desolate Heaven Palace Lord is actually the first among the 9 world palaces to arrive. Someone had a bewildered look on his face as he stared at a group of experts in the distance. These experts were all from the desolate Heaven Palace, and the person in the lead was none other than the desolate Heaven Palace Lord. There were many peak powers of the desolate Heaven Palace around him. After the desolate Heaven Palace Lord arrived, he directly landed on a tall platform and sat on the throne. The other experts also sat down according to their order. The Xinyuan Palace Lord has arrived. Many people glanced in another direction. When the Xinyuan Palace Lord arrived, he glanced at the imposing desolate Heaven Palace Lord, but he didn't greet him and directly sat down. Soon after, the experts of the Dragon Saddle Palace, Scarlet Origin Palace, Jengmetal Palace, and Gemini Palace arrived one after another. The arrival of each group would cause a commotion and discussion. We have arrived at the Lifefire Palace. At this moment, many figures appeared in the crowd. Countless people turned their gazes towards the white-robed young man in the lead. He exuded an unparalleled magnificence and was clad in a simple white robe, yet it was unable to conceal his radiance. His demeanor was extremely outstanding, and there were those who had seen Qin Wenyin 100 years ago who sighed in admiration. Qin Wenyin had changed again, his aura was even more transcendent. As the Lifefire Empyrean, he was already a major character of a region. Is this the Lifefire Empyrean? Those who didn't come in the previous banquet silently mused as they surveyed Qin Wenyin, filled with curiosity. Qin Wenyin was definitely a legendary character. Back then when he participated in the previous banquet, he was only at the mid-stage of the immortal emperor realm. However, tens of years later, he already seized the position of the Lifefire Empyrean and killed the previous Lifefire Empyrean. This was simply a legend. His cultivation speed was truly terrifying. Although there wasn't a high requirement in terms of time to comprehend source origins from the immortal emperor realm, the main test was one's comprehension ability. However, to countless people, this was extremely difficult. They might not need a long time to comprehend it, but there was also a possibility that they wouldn't be able to comprehend it no matter how long they spent. However, Qin Wenyin managed to accomplish what countless people couldn't. He only used tens of years. The Sky Air Empyrean hasn't arrived yet. It seems like the Kangvutter Empyrean won't be able to make it. Many people silently mused. At this moment, at the top of the 10,000-foot stairway, two extremely beautiful celestial maidens appeared. These two were none other than the two maidens from the previous banquet. Their beauty was unparalleled and their cultivation bases were extremely high. The various palace lords all stood up and greeted, "We pay our respects to the fairies." Jialan Chuyue was at the Lifefire Empyrean's side and wasn't far away from Qin Wenyin. Her beautiful eyes glanced at Qin Wenyin. 100 years ago, Di Tian was beside her. When he saw this scene, he once said a sentence that she would never be able to forget. Di Tian said that he wanted his woman to be like him, lofty, being worshipped by others. At this moment, Qin Wenyin didn't bow. He calmly stared at the two fairies. There was no fear or respect in his eyes. His woman Yi Qinyu was still in the lifelong Saint Hall. It was impossible for him to pay his respects to the women of the lifelong Realm Lord now. The beautiful eyes of the two fairies gleamed with resplendent light as they stared in the direction of the 9 World Palace Lords. When their beautiful eyes swept past Qin Wenyin, their gazes froze there. They could see that Qin Wenyin didn't have the same respect as the other World Palace Lords. In fact, there was a hint of aggression in his eyes, as though he was scrutinizing them, causing them to feel extremely uncomfortable. Leaving aside their cultivation bases, just based on the fact that they were the women of the lifelong Realm Lord, even a World Palace Lord would dare to look at them with such a gaze? However, Qin Wenyin didn't seem to know this. He continued staring at them despite feeling the gazes of the two fairies. This caused coldness to flash in the eyes of the two fairies as they silently noted down the name of this Lifefire Empyrean. Although his talent was outstanding, he actually dared to be so impudent after becoming a World Palace Lord? The two fairies stood on the two sides. After that, from afar, the figure of the lifelong Realm Lord could be seen walking over. The Sky Air Palace Lord was a personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord, and this time around, he was serving beside the lifelong Realm Lord. This caused many people to silently muse that as a personal disciple, the Sky Air Palace Lord was the most trusted aide of the lifelong Realm Lord. The lifelong Realm Lord's arrival attracted the attention of everyone. Countless people held their breaths as they stared at this lofty character with reverence in their eyes. This man was none other than the master of the lifelong realm, the ruler of the lifelong realm, the king of the lifelong realm. He was supreme and possessed unparalleled authority. The entire world belonged to him. To countless people, they only felt worship and reverence, prostrating themselves in worship to the lifelong Realm Lord. Countless people bowed to him. Their respect and worship came from the depths of their hearts. Qin Wenyin felt his heart trembling when he saw this. The people of the world revered the strong. Unparalleled strength would naturally represent a supreme status, attracting the attention of the world and the admiration of the masses. However, who would know what sort of character the lifelong Realm Lord was? The people of the world couldn't come into contact with him, and he had no direct connection with them. To the people of the world, he was merely a legendary character, an existence that they couldn't touch. He was a god of faith. But today, what he wanted to do was to knock the god of faith of the lifelong realm down from his divine pedestal. The lifelong Realm Lord waved his hand, causing the crowd to fall silent. Staring at the fanatical gazes of the countless people below, he was very satisfied. This was the feeling of authority. This was also the charm of unparalleled strength. Why did the people of the world pursue strength? Only by being strong would one be able to obtain a supreme status, receiving the worship and reverence of the people of the world. The entire world would belong to him. As long as he wanted a beauty, he would be able to add them into his harem. The lifelong Realm Lord was a pragmatic man. He enjoyed power and status. He liked to be worshipped by others. He also enjoyed the joy brought by power. However, when his gaze turned to the direction of the Lifefire Palace and saw Qin Wenyan, as well as the Princess Kitamura beside Qin Wenyan, the joy he felt was instantly torn apart, causing the humiliation in his heart to surface once again. This was a stain on his reputation. He who was unparalleled was actually being humiliated by his subordinates. He had no way to endure this. In this lifelong realm, he was the king. Only he had the authority to humiliate others. No one else had the qualifications to do this to him. Sit. The lifelong Realm Lord no longer glanced at Qin Wenyan as he calmly spoke. Many thanks, Realm Lord. Everyone bowed again. After that, they respectively sat down. The Sky Air Palace Lord also left the lifelong Realm Lord's side and sat on the throne of the 9 World Palace Lords. It's been another 100 years. During these 100 years, I still have to thank everyone for helping me to guard the 9 great realms. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled. Prepare the banquet. As the sound of his voice faded, countless beautiful maidens flew out from the lifelong Saint Hall, preparing the banquet just like in the past. The atmosphere was extremely harmonious and lively, just like before. There was no difference at all. Everyone naturally didn't notice that the desolate Heaven Palace Lord was much calmer compared to before. The Xinyuan Palace Lord also didn't speak as much as before. From the start until now, he didn't even greet the other Palace Lords. We've received the Realm Lord's kindness. How can it be tough? We will naturally do our best even if we have to die 10,000 times. The Sky Air Palace Lord was the first to speak. Everyone echoed in agreement. The lifelong Realm Lord smiled and nodded. 100 years ago, a dance from the Red Dust Immortal Palace toppled an entire city. Everyone, do you all still remember that beautiful dancer from the Red Dust Immortal Palace? As the sound of his voice rang out, those who knew the truth felt their hearts trembling. Those who didn't were all bewildered as they glanced at the people beside them. The beautiful dancer from the Red Dust Immortal Palace 100 years ago? Many people started to discuss in whispers. After that, more and more people recalled that dance from the Red Dust Immortal Palace back then. The most outstanding person shouldn't be forgotten because it was rumored that it was precisely because of her that the previous Lifefire Empyrean died. Yi Qinyu was the woman of the new Lifefire Empyrean. When Qin Wenyan became the Palace Lord, the Realm Lord bestowed Yi Qinyu to Qin Wenyan. Right now, Yi Qinyu could already be considered as the Palace Lord's wife. However, in such a situation, the lifelong Realm Lord actually referred to Yi Qinyu as a dancer? What did he mean by this? The hearts of many people trembled. The eyes of some experts from the major powers flashed with a dazzling light. It was rumored that the Realm Lord was unhappy with Qin Wenyan. Seems like it was true. Everyone's discussion is right. That beautiful dancer is none other than the Lifefire Empyrean's beloved woman. Back then, because the Lifefire Empyrean liked her, I bestowed her to him. The lifelong Realm Lord continued to smile. Speaking of which, I actually felt some reluctance. That beautiful dancer's dance was simply too beautiful, causing one to reminisce about it. Back then, she would often dance with me in the lifelong Saint Hall, relieving me of my boredom. If it wasn't for the fact that Palace Lord Qin liked her, I definitely wouldn't have bestowed her to him. This is the kindness Master has shown to Palace Lord Qin. Palace Lord Qin will naturally remember it. The Sky Air Empyrean laughed. Many people had strange looks on their faces. Speaking of which, this could indeed be considered a kindness. However, for such a matter to be spoken out now, it seemed like he wasn't giving the Lifefire Empyrean any face. In fact, it could even be said that he was trampling on the Lifefire Empyrean's dignity. Palace Lord Qin, today this seat is prepared to use Yi Qinyu to perform another dance. How about it? The lifelong Realm Lord laughed as he asked. Chapter 1744. The lifelong Realm Lord laughed as he glanced at Qin Wenyin. He didn't really want to seek Qin Wentian's opinion. He naturally did this intentionally, wanting to humiliate and infuriate Qin Wenyin. He then turned his gaze to everyone and smiled. Such treatment is something that can only be obtained in this era of prosperity. Everyone, what do you all think? Realm Lord is so generous. Being able to enjoy the dance of Palace Lord Qin's favorite dancer is truly a rare opportunity. The Saddle Dragon Palace Lord laughed, immediately agreeing. I also feel some nostalgia. The dance of that dancer back then truly caused one to reminisce. The Sky Air Palace Lord spoke. He naturally had to agree with his master. He had been waiting until today to act against Qin Wenyin because he wanted to humiliate him in front of everyone. It was extremely hard for his master to swallow his anger. After that, many people from the major powers laughed as they discussed. It was like the person they were talking about was just an ordinary dancer and not Qin Wentian's woman. There were also many people who turned their gazes to the Lifefire Empyrean, wondering what his reaction would be. However, many of them were disappointed. Qin Wenyin actually had no reaction on his face. He calmly watched everything. But how could they know that right now, the killing intent in Qin Wentian's heart towards the lifelong Realm Lord and the Sky Air Palace Lord had already risen to the extreme? He didn't say anything. Right now, Yi Qinyu was still in the lifelong Saint Hall. He wanted to see her first. The lifelong Realm Lord instructed the people around him. Someone immediately went to invite Yi Qinyu over. Everyone enjoyed the banquet and the atmosphere was extremely lively. Palace Lord Qin, that beautiful dancer, is truly alluring. I'm sure Palace Lord Qin would often admire her in the Lifefire Palace, right? How envious. Someone from the Sword Spirit sect laughed as he spoke to Qin Wenyin. 100 years ago, Qin Wenyin already had a conflict with the Sword Spirit sect. Back then, he became famous for challenging a genius governor of the Sword Spirit sect. After that, because of the matter with Beauty Xiao, he offended the Sword Spirit sect once more. No wonder the Sword Spirit sect wouldn't forget to humiliate him at such a time. Qin Wenyin indifferently glanced at the expert from the Sword Spirit sect who spoke. That indifferent gaze of his caused others to feel a chill in their hearts. When that expert from the Sword Spirit sect saw the look in Qin Wentian's eyes, his laughter grew even more carefree as he spoke. If there's a chance, I would like to admire it more often. Angry? Anger? So what? The rumors of the Realm Lord being unhappy with Qin Wenyin could already be confirmed. Qin Wentian's ending most probably wouldn't be any better. At this moment, it was time to beat the dog when he's down. Qin Wenyin was arrogant and despotic in the past, not even giving face to the Sword Spirit sect. Not long after, Yi Qinyu was brought over. She was still as sexy and charming as ever. Her long dress fluttered in the wind and just a single glance at her would cause the hearts of many to burn, let alone when she danced. Many people were filled with anticipation. Yi Qinyu, you can go first. The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke. Yi Qinyu's graceful figure walked forward, her beautiful eyes glancing at Qin Wenyin. When she came to the center of the crowd, the Sky Air Palace Lord laughed loudly. No wonder Palace Lord Qin is so mesmerized by this dancer. Back then, I already knew her charm the moment I saw her. Now that I see her again, it's even more so. Palace Lord Qin must surely enjoy this beauty of the mortal world, right? However, Palace Lord Qin mustn't forget the kindness Master has shown him. This dancer was bestowed to you by Master. In the future, remember to let her come to the lifelong Saint Hall often to relieve Master's boredom. Before she dances, let me ask her a few questions. At this moment, Qin Wendian suddenly spoke. He then spoke to Yi Qinyu. Qinyu, come over here. MHM. Yi Qinyu smiled. Her beautiful figure flashed as she appeared beside Qin Wendian. This caused the lifelong Realm Lord and the Sky Air Palace Lord to frown, but they didn't stop her. They were waiting for Qin Wendian to go against the Realm Lord's orders. After that, they would find him to settle the debt. Qinyu, you wait at the side first. Qin Wendian nodded to Yi Qinyu. Yi Qinyu smiled again and walked behind Qin Wendian as though nothing had happened. She had already received the message from Qin Wendian. Today, her man was going to fall out with the lifelong Realm Lord. Although she didn't know what capabilities Qin Wendian had, since he said he wanted to do this, he naturally had his own reasons. Qin Wendian, what do you mean by this? The Sky Air Palace Lord roared. He coldly spoke, Master is still waiting for this dancer's dance. Are you ignoring his orders? Who the hell do you think you are? Are you even qualified to speak to me like this? Qin Wendian glanced at the Sky Air Palace Lord. In an instant, everyone who had lifted their wine cups to drink felt their wine cups hanging in the air. This was all because of this domineering statement. Qin Wendian actually dared to say that the Sky Air Palace Lord was nothing in front of everyone? Although he was now the Lifeire Empyrean, the Sky Air Palace Lord was one of the top 3 world palaces. In addition, he was also the personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord. His status was comparable to the desolate Heaven Palace Lord. Qin Wendian actually dared to be so arrogant? In an instant, countless gazes converged onto Qin Wendian. This sentence of his was like a thunderclap, exploding forth in the atmosphere of the banquet, as though the prelude to a storm was about to erupt. The Sky Air Palace Lord was first stunned. After that, his expression turned ashen as his heart turned ice cold. Qin Wendian humiliated him in front of everyone. Very good, seems like today, he wouldn't have to worry about not having an excuse to deal with Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian actually took the initiative to jump out and court death. Although he knew that this would happen sooner or later, he didn't expect it to happen so quickly. He truly couldn't bear to do this. Palace Lord Qin, do you know what you are doing? The Sky Air Palace Lord coldly questioned. Back then in the lower world, you were also so arrogant in front of this seat. You didn't know what's good for you and wanted to kill me on the spot. But in the end, you couldn't even receive a single sword strike from me. If it wasn't for the fact that you are the personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord, I would have already killed you with a single sword strike. How would trash like you have the chance to speak such arrogant words here? Simply shameless. You even dare to bark like a dog in front of this seat. As a palace lord, do you still have any face? Qin Wendian roared, directly exposing the past, mercilessly humiliating and mocking the Sky Air Palace Lord. Such past matters to Qin Wendian wasn't something worth showing off. He couldn't even be bothered to mention it. However, the Sky Air Palace Lord truly didn't know shame. He actually dared to humiliate him again and again, wanting to see him become a joke. Since this was the case, he would let the Sky Air Palace Lord know what humiliation was. As expected, as the sound of his voice faded, countless people were shocked. Whispers could be heard as numerous gazes shifted from Qin Wendian to the Sky Air Palace Lord. The two of them actually had such a battle. As the personal disciple of the lifelong Realm Lord, the Sky Air Palace Lord couldn't even receive a single sword strike from Qin Wendian. Even the lifelong Realm Lord frowned as he stared at the Sky Air Palace Lord. Back then, the Sky Air Palace Lord didn't explain things like this to him. Upon sensing the gazes of the lifelong Realm Lord and countless people, the Sky Air Palace Lord's expression instantly turned ashen. A malevolent look appeared on his face as he stared at Qin Wendian. How dare you speak such nonsense, ruining my reputation? Deny? Qin Wendian stared at him and coldly laughed. Seems like you really didn't mention this to the Realm Lord. Since you say that this seat is speaking nonsense, in that case, this seat will challenge you again in front of the Realm Lord. If you can receive a single attack from me, it will be my loss and I will apologize on the spot. If you can't, I won't show mercy to you like I did back then. I will directly slay you under my sword, lest you continue to tarnish the Realm Lord's reputation. The Sky Air Palace Lord's expression contorted, but he didn't dare to accept the challenge. Clearly, fear still lingered in his heart. Upon seeing this scene, how could everyone not understand that Qin Wentian's words were actually true? What a terrifying Liefire Empyrean! Many people felt shock in their hearts. 100 years ago, he was merely an immortal emperor, sparring with the Sky Air Palace Lord. At that time, to the Sky Air Palace Lord, he was merely a minor character. But now, just 100 years later, he actually shouted at the Sky Air Palace Lord and even defeated him with a single sword strike. What sort of strength was this? The expressions of the people from the Sword Spirit sect also twitched. Qin Wenyan was actually so powerful. If this person wasn't eliminated, he would definitely be a source of trouble in the future. Luckily, the Realm Lord might act against him today. As expected, the lifelong Realm Lord was extremely unhappy at this moment. The Sky Air Palace Lord was publicly humiliated by Qin Wenyan and was even defeated with a single strike. This was truly a loss of face for him. Was Qin Wenyan retaliating against him? Qin Wenyan, let's talk about this matter later. Earlier, I've already said to let everyone enjoy the dance of that dancer first. The lifelong Realm Lord changed the topic. He would slowly settle the debt later on. Reporting to Realm Lord, we can't talk about this matter later. I have something to report to you. Qin Wentian spoke. It's about me and Princess Kitamura. Imichem? The eyes of the lifelong Realm Lord flashed. Speak. He really wanted to hear what Qin Wentian wanted to say. Actually, Princess Kitamura and I aren't truly fellow apprentice and junior apprentice brother. However, both of us have received guidance from a senior and can be considered half a fellow apprentice and junior apprentice brother. Back then when we came to the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms, we encountered some trouble. At that time, my cultivation base was still low, and in order to better move about outside, Princess Kitamura decided to pretend to be my senior apprentice sister. After that, the two of us have been using this identity to announce our relationship to the public. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. The lifelong Realm Lord naturally already knew about this. His lips curled up in a sharp smile. Was Qin Wentian preparing to confess and beg for forgiveness? Qin Wentian was also observing the lifelong Realm Lord. When he saw the expression on the lifelong Realm Lord's face, Qin Wentian understood that the lifelong Realm Lord already knew about this. No wonder he would use Yi Qinyu as a hostage. And then? The lifelong Realm Lord coldly asked. Although Princess Kitamura and I aren't fellow apprentice and junior apprentice brother, we have experienced life and death together in the Supreme Ancient Immortal Realms. Our feelings for each other have surpassed that of fellow apprentice siblings. Back then when I killed the previous Liefire Empyrean and Realm Lord was considering how to deal with this, you told Yu Huang that you can consider letting me take over the position of the Liefire Empyrean, and at the same time, you wanted to take her as a concubine. Because of me, Princess Kitamura actually chose to sacrifice herself and agreed to Realm Lord's request. And today, Realm Lord is going to announce this news. Hence, I said all of this because I want to tell Realm Lord that this matter is impossible. I won't allow Princess Kitamura to do this. Qin Wentian slowly spoke. Impudent. The expression of the lifelong Realm Lord turned completely cold. Qin Wentian spoke for him. In addition, from the tone of his words, it was as though he was threatening Princess Kitamura to become his concubine. The words he used were even saying that Princess Kitamura was willing to sacrifice herself and compromise. Preposterous. The Sky Air Empyrean roared in rage. A pair of adulterers, actually daring to humiliate my master like this. Master taking her as a concubine is her glory and grace. It's the same for her when he gave you the position of Palace Lord. To think that the two of you actually colluded with each other, repaying kindness with enmity, and even dared to slander my master. Glory? Grace? Qin Wentian laughed. Realm Lord is already so old, yet you are still so lecherous and despicable. The two of you, master and disciple, are truly alike. Do you still want face? Qin Wentian's words were like a bolt of lightning in a clear sky. Chapter 1745. Qin Wentian's voice wasn't loud, but each and every one of his words ruthlessly smashed into the hearts of everyone. Today was the grand banquet of the lifelong realm that was held once every 100 years. Today, many people would be able to see the character they believed in, the lifelong realm lord. Today was the grandest day of the lifelong realm. However, on such a day, the lifelong realm lord's subordinate, Qin Wentian, actually insulted the lifelong realm lord in public. Despite his age, he was shameless and lecherous. Insulting the lifelong realm lord, such a thing was something they didn't even dare to imagine. But at this moment, someone actually did it. In fact, many people didn't even have the time to react. They came here to participate in the banquet, to see which geniuses would appear. But they didn't expect that they would see such a huge commotion. In the history of the lifelong realm, such a thing had never happened before. Let alone insulting the lifelong realm lord, no one even dared to criticize him. The lifelong realm lord was a lofty existence, the master of the lifelong realm. Who would dare to show any disrespect? Many people felt their hearts trembling. Even the various palace lords didn't expect Qin Wentian's retaliation to be so ferocious. Qin Wentian's retaliation was so sharp and direct. Borrowing my woman for a dance? In that case, I will insult you in front of everyone, calling you a shameless lecher. The people from the Sword Spirit sect and the other peak powers were all stunned. Was this fellow courting death? Countless gazes turned to the lifelong realm lord. Right now, they were thinking, what was the lifelong realm lord thinking in his heart at this instant? Most probably his killing intent was towering up into the sky. The lifelong realm lord still sat there. He actually didn't say anything. Even he was shocked by Qin Wentian's words. Who was he? The master of the lifelong realm? No matter how he thought about it, he would never have imagined that Qin Wentian would dare to insult him in public. So what if Qin Wentian was hacked into 1,000 pieces? Today, his reputation had already been damaged. Right now, he was thinking about how he should deal with Qin Wentian, his woman, and his family exactly. The most vicious methods of punishment instantly appeared in his heart. He wanted to make Qin Wentian regret living in this world. The Sky Air Palace Lord was first enraged, but after that, the killing intent in his heart intensified. Qin Wentian would die for sure this time. Even if he was the disciple of Realm Lord Yi, so what? Yi's disciple dared to insult a Realm Lord at the same level as him? What could he say if he killed him? Qin Wentian's death was inevitable. What they needed to do now was to redeem the lifelong Realm Lord's reputation. Everyone in the world was watching. The matter today would be circulated through the entire lifelong realm in an extremely short period of time. If Qin Wentian's words were proven to be true, the lifelong realm lord, who was a supreme character of faith, would have an irremovable stain on his reputation. Realm lord, this subordinate requests to capture the Life-Fire Empyrean and kill him on the spot. The Saddle Dragon Empyrean spoke. My Sword Spirit sect is willing to do anything for the Realm Lord. The sect leader of the Sword Spirit sect stood up and personally spoke. This subordinate also requests to kill Qin Wentian and capture everyone around him. The Scarlet Origin Palace Lord stated. After that, many major powers stood up with righteous indignation. It was like the person Qin Wentian insulted wasn't the lifelong Realm Lord but them instead. At this moment, they naturally had to stand out and speak for the Realm Lord, expressing their loyalty. In this vast space, an uproar rang out. Amidst the commotion, some people noticed that the desolate Heaven Palace Lord and Xianyuan Palace Lord, these two hegemonic characters actually didn't express their stance. Naturally, there was no need for them to say anything. They would definitely stand on the Realm Lord's side and were only waiting for the Realm Lord's command. At this moment, the lifelong Realm Lord lifted his hand. After that, everyone fell silent. His might could be clearly seen. Princess Kitamura. The lifelong Realm Lord suddenly spoke. He stared at Princess Kitamura and spoke, "You are the clearest about the matters back then. It's true that I hesitated if I should allow Qin Wentian to take over the Life-Fire Empyrean's position. From my point of view, there are still others I can consider. As for me, It's because I admire you that I wanted to take you in as my woman. I asked for your opinion and you didn't object. If not, why would I, the lifelong Realm Lord, force you to be my woman? Also, Qin Wenyin, you killed the previous Li-Fire Empyrean and I didn't hold it against you. I even allowed you to take over the Li-Fire Empyrean's position and bestowed Yi Qinyu to you. However, I didn't know that you had such a relationship with Princess Kitamura. You guys can just tell me directly, why would I hold it against you? Why must you slander me? Master, this adulterous couple actually dared to go against you, agreeing to your request. Most probably, their goal back then was the position of the Li-Fire Empyrean. Now, when they saw that Princess Kitamura agreed to marry you, they suddenly felt regret in their hearts. This is why they repaid kindness with enmity, slandering Master. Such despicable characters, Master will never forgive them. The Sky Air Palace Lord cooperated and spoke. The two of them echoed each other, as though Qin Wenyin and Princess Kitamura were the real despicable characters, repaying kindness with enmity. Fascinating. Qin Wenyin praised. The relationship between me and Yu Huang is pure. I, Qin Wenyin, am upright and upright. How would I not dare to acknowledge my own woman? Yi Qinyu is none other than my woman. Back then, I joined the Li-Fire Palace precisely because of her. Realm Lord should be very clear about this point. In addition, on the day I became the Li-Fire Palace Lord, I even announced this in the Li-Fire Great Hall. There's no way Realm Lord doesn't know about this. However, towards my woman, Realm Lord imprisoned her in the lifelong Saint Hall. What are your intentions? Is this also considered a favor to me? Realm Lord referred to my woman as a dancer, allowing her to perform a dance in front of everyone. Is this considered a favor to me as well? Lifelong Realm Lord, just this matter earlier is already sufficient to let everyone in the world know what sort of person you are. How about it? The two fairies beside you are extremely beautiful. Why don't you get them to perform a dance for everyone to admire? Qin Wenyin calmly spoke. You dare to be disrespectful to the fairies? The Sky Air Palace Lord roared in anger. I heard that the lifelong Realm Lord's harem is as many as the clouds. So what if the two fairies dance? Naturally, maybe the two fairies were forced to join the lifelong Realm Lord's harem back then. If this is the case, I, Qin, would like to apologize to the two fairies. Qin Wenyin still wanted to clear his name? How was that possible? The lifelong Realm Lord suddenly laughed. This seat has lived for countless years. As the Realm Lord of a region, I've naturally met many beauties. My harem is as many as the clouds. What's wrong with that? There are countless beauties in the world who want to become my woman. Do I even need to threaten them? Today is the banquet of the lifelong realm. Initially, it was a joyous occasion, but I didn't expect that someone would disturb the mood. Who is going to capture this disgraceful person for me? The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke. We're willing to serve the Realm Lord. In an instant, many experts from the major powers stood out, expressing their willingness to act. The lifelong Realm Lord continued sitting there. There was no need for him to do some things personally. It would be beneath his status. Given his status, a single command was sufficient. He really wanted to see why Qin Wenyin dared to do this. Who exactly gave him such courage? In an instant, countless experts stepped out, surrounding the Li-Fire Palace. At this moment, the expressions of countless people on the Li-Fire Palace's platform changed. These included many monarchs and governors of the Li-Fire Palace, as well as many experts from the major powers. Although they came together with Qin Wenyin, they weren't willing to follow Qin Wenyin and face the lifelong Realm Lord's anger together. There was an 80% chance that Qin Wenyin had gone mad and was courting death. They didn't want to send themselves to their graves. Someone immediately spoke. Although I'm a monarch of the Li-Fire Palace, I'm also a subordinate of the Realm Lord. I would never dare to commit such a disgraceful act. Realm Lord, please forgive me. For those who have nothing to do with this, just step out. I won't pursue this. The lifelong Realm Lord calmly spoke. He wasn't stingy with displaying his magnanimity at this moment. In an instant, many monarchs left. Those who followed Qin Wendian all hesitated. They also felt that Qin Wentian's actions today were simply too crazy. Could it be that they really had to follow Qin Wendian down this path? Although they had vowed to follow Qin Wendian right now, this was a matter of life and death. Their opponent was the lifelong Realm Lord. They had no choice but to be cautious. Very swiftly, some people left. Qin Wendian didn't stop them. The number of people on the Lifefire Palace's platform continued to decrease. At this moment, it would be strange if they didn't flee. If not, they might be caught in the crossfire. They didn't want to die together with Qin Wendian. Qin Wendian, just give yourself up. The sect leader of the Sword Spirit sect personally acted. The sword intent radiating from him was incomparably sharp. Qin Wendian stared at the experts from all directions rushing over. He calmly glanced at the air. At this moment, the desolate Heaven Palace, Xinyuan Palace and Jialan clans still didn't act recklessly. Before Qin Wendian displayed his strength that could contend against the Realm Lord, they wouldn't step out. Even if they had the heart to support Qin Wendian had to have sufficient strength first. If not, they would only be accompanying him to death. You are truly foolish. Qin Wendian stared at the sect leader of the Sword Spirit sect as he spoke. His words caused the gaze of the sect leader to turn even sharper as his sword intent grew even stronger. There seemed to be a sword soul of a wise ancestor appearing, descending from the void, exuding a desolate killing intent. Today, since I came here, I naturally want to contend against the lifelong Realm Lord. You are so eager to gain merits, wanting to curry favor with the lifelong Realm Lord. Have you not thought about what would happen to your Sword Spirit sect if I have the strength to contend against the lifelong Realm Lord? Qin Wentian's words caused the expression of the sect leader of the Sword Spirit sect to change. He suddenly felt a sense of unease in his heart. Could it be that Qin Wendian came here today with preparations? Could it be that he had a backer who could contend against the lifelong Realm Lord? He still didn't dare to imagine that Qin Wendian himself would have such strength. Just based on the fact that your Sword Spirit sect agreed with the lifelong Realm Lord and spoke disrespectfully to my woman earlier. From today onwards, the Sword Spirit sect will no longer exist in this world. As the sound of Qin Wentian's voice faded, his white robes fluttered as beams of light shot out, shining directly onto the body of the Sword Spirit sect leader. Arg! An incomparably miserable scream rang out. To the shock of the crowd, the body of the Sword Spirit sect leader was instantly riddled with holes. After that, his body started to turn illusory as though he was about to shatter into countless fragments. At this moment, the face of the Sword Spirit sect leader was filled with boundless terror. He stared at Qin Wendian in fear as boundless regret filled his heart. From today onwards, the Sword Spirit sect leader would no longer exist in this world. No! The Sword Spirit sect leader screamed in terror. After that, his body grew increasingly weaker and with a light swishing sound, he directly transformed into fragments and dust, disappearing into the air. You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.